see the choice. This is what I get when I click on that.
Video. Oh.
IT, I don't know.
I see it doesn't show up on there. That's why. Okay. Right.
It would just be for my camera. I don't think it would.
Yeah, it's not for the other one.
But we can hear everybody, but they can't see, right?
Yeah, well.
Well, I guess now was Kim was gonna join, she's joining via Zoom for the bond refinancing, but maybe, oh, you're here, okay. So you know what, I'm thinking maybe we go ahead with, if you all are comfortable with it, I'll give the LEPC update and then we'll go ahead with the financial update. We'll come back to community input, if that's all right with everybody. So that if somebody online would like to make a comment, we'll be able to see them. Is there anybody here in person that would like to make a comment for community input? Yeah, why don't you come on up?
Okay, so my name is Donna Vino, and I've lived in Carlisle for 35 years. And I was just coming and wanted to inform the select board of an upcoming citizen petition regarding
Excuse me, before you go on, what street do you live on?
8 Acton Street.
Thank you.
So the upcoming citizen petition regarding the recent placement of safety signs in the center of Carlisle. I'll hopefully be gathering signatures for a petition to modify the green neon sign situation in Carlisle's historic district. The petition will request a reduction in the number, size, and look of the town of the signs to better reflect the rural, small town and historic character of Carlisle's town center. So does anybody have any questions or?
Actually, for community input, we just take your input, which we really appreciate, but we don't go any back and forth yet. But thank you very much, Donna. We appreciate it. Anyone else like to offer from the audience any community input? So if you're, those of you online, if you have community input to offer, I will come back and ask you that again in the hopes that we'll have the video working. And somebody, one of our select board members, you're going to help me remember that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So for the LEPC update, this is a group that meets usually the Monday before the select board meetings, and we have members of the Board of Health and the Fire and Police Department and the library and the Council on Aging and a broad section of the town to just see, primarily at this point, we're looking at where we are in terms of COVID and the pandemic. And so I will say that the Board of Health agent reported that, we're seeing a few cases in Carlisle, but not many, which is good news. And that the Board of Health will take up the mask mandate that they approved earlier. They will take that up at their next meeting, which will be on October 6th, which is when they'll review the mask mandate and determine whether or not they're going to continue it. There will be a flu clinic coming up, I think, Friday from 10 to 1 p.m. And I believe that, and the school, I'll just tell you really quickly, the report from the school superintendent was that things are going well at the school. They've had a couple of cases. They've been able to go through their protocol of test and stay. So if a student shows positive, they come and they take one of those quick tests. And if they're negative, then they can go back to school, go back to their class. Let's see, finally, I want to give you the good news, I think, that we had a conversation about Halloween, and we are going to hold Halloween on Halloween itself, which is a Sunday, October 30th, and at the usual time from 4 to 8 p.m. And it'll be, again, the town center will be hosting a town center Halloween. And anyone in a neighborhood that would like to organize their own neighborhood trick or treating, that's certainly fine as well. And I'll just make a plug that if people want to help donate candy to the town center operation for Halloween, which is pretty big, if you haven't ever been there, then you're welcome to drop off a bag of candy at Fern's. Alrighty, with that, that's the end of the LEPC update. And I think we'll then go on and starting with our town accountant, what would they say? Ex officio, I guess, right? Priscilla Dumka. And then-
Emeritus,
Emeritus.
emeritus.
Sorry, emeritus, okay. And then Kelly Byer, who is our going to be town accountant once we approve that, and we're doing that tonight, correct, Tim?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, shall we do that first,
Yes.
Tim?
Either way, I mean,
Okay.
Priscilla can certainly give the report as a retiree. Also, maybe she should be town accountant when she gives the final report. to us.
Okay, all right,
Let's do
thank
it that
you.
way.
Yeah, Priscilla, come on up. Thank you very much. And this is a review of the 2021 receipts and expenditures. Yeah, is that on? Good, okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Long time no see.
Yeah. If you need to pull out a few more chairs, please feel free to do so.
You're not having an issue getting that? Oh. It's a little harder on the laptop.
It's unfortunate that Mark's not here.
All right. I just thought it made sense for me to talk to you about where everything ended up for FY '21 and as I'm leaving. So I sent you 3 reports. One was where CARES and FEMA are right now and where revenue ended at the end of the year and where expenses ended. So which would you like to talk about first?
Go in order of the reports.
Yeah, you want to go in order of the reports?
Okay.
It's the fiscal end, year end.
The first I'll do is the revenue. Kelly helped do this report. At the end of the year, we're $332,000 more in revenue. It's a really strange report because we actually took in less, but the budget was less, so that's why. But, you know,
Been good accounting, huh?
yeah, this is great accounting, David. So that's good news.
I hire you for my company, we get less revenue, but make more profit. Yeah.
And then for expenses, the number starts with 7, so I get to the bottom, 762 in unexpected expenses. That doesn't mean we have $1 million to free cash. It's, I would think free cash will end up close to where it was last year, but it's not an exact science.
How much
To
was
those.
it last year, Priscilla?
3.2 million?
Oh, you mean the balance you think would be?
Oh, the
unchanged?
balance,
Why would that be with all that surplus?
because you got 762 to add to it.
Right. And we used 8. So it
Oh,
you know, we used
Oh, we
8.
used 8. Oh, I see, you mean, okay, the balance, but the, after we used what we used, it did go
We're-
up.
Yeah, it looks like it'll be
Replenish
replenished
what we
what we
used,
use,
which is
which is great. And do any questions on either?
So just from a formatting, right? It's been a while since I
Yep.
looked at these. So I see the comparisons and then at the town meeting, we made some transfers, which was what we knew at the time, I guess, right? I mean, the June column, transfers June 21.
That wasn't town meeting, that transfers can be made
Okay.
starting May 1st, and it has to be agreed with, it's a vote of selectmen and finance committee, so
So
we
in
did
some
some.
cases, we made the transfer, but it looks like maybe we didn't have to, we just, we
Right.
didn't know at the time. So
Right, we did the same thing at the reserve fund. I had some money put into different budgets. You just never know what's gonna come to,
Right.
into your office after that. And after July 15th, you can't use that reserve fund, so it doesn't make sense to just leave it in the reserve fund.
Right, but you don't have to zero out every line item or every department, it doesn't really matter.
Nope. Nope. It falls down to free cash if
Yeah.
it's coming from the reserve fund or from a department.
Right, okay. So, so the big, I mean, I just looked at like the big things that stood out, like group insurance got a lot lower. It's like the.
Yeah, that's.
Way lower.
Because of that
Cross.
negotiation that, remember, that Kim went through, right?
Oh, okay.
and Made the
Yeah.
changes, which
Ah, okay.
So that-
resulted in a lot of savings.
Okay.
That's gonna help this year. That didn't really help last
Oh, I see
year,
what you're saying, right,
but
right.
there was, there was a lot of guessing last year when they did the budget. And I think that some extra money was put in that line.
So that will inform them for this year's.
Right.
Okay. When Jack Huntress gets here, I gotta ask him, my school committee's over budget,
He is here.
Oh, so why is school committee over budget by $76,000, Jack?
I'm gonna need to get back to you on that, David.
Okay.
I'm not gonna let you out of this room until you do.
Gonna shake you upside down, and see how much change you have. in-
Yeah.
It'll be $76,000.
Oh, that's great.
That'll solve the coin.
Yeah.
Any other comments on this first page, on this first,
On the first report? or-
yeah, the first
Yeah,
report?
I found this report very interesting. I, like to receive these actually more often. I'm on a couple of, nonprofit boards, and the FinCom, this sort of thing comes to the board every couple of months. So we track, and in fact, they do a lot more revising of their budgets, as they're tracking, but I find it very interesting, and I think it'd be nice if we could have this, a direct presentation like this more often.
Budget reports, before last year, I was giving budget reports, and Tim would have those for the general fund every month. But with COVID and all of the work that was going on, I changed it to quarterly. So any quarter, you can ask him for the reports, or
Yeah, but I know,
Kelly
but
can
it's just
surely
better
come in.
If I go in and ask the report, it's different than if it's,
Right.
if it's presented to the
On
board.
On our agenda.
So I think we
Yeah.
should have a standard quarterly review.
Sure.
And when you have those, like, for the first quarter, say, which is now upon us, right, finished with, it will be the run rate, it'll be the, like,
Yeah,
it'll be a
just-
quarter of the budget. It'll show us like
Yeah.
where we are relative to time. It's not always geographically synced, right? So
Yeah.
Right.
the question is, how useful is the not full year?
I have to say the revenue won't help at all,
Right.
because most of the revenue is motor vehicle excise
Yeah.
tax, and that comes in March. And so until after the third quarter, that won't help. The expenses, the report that we can get out of Munis has a percentage of the
Right,
year.
but it's
That
lumpy,
might
right?
help.
It's lumpy. It's not
It sure is.
Yeah.
That's
You're,
the question, Kate, is it gonna be useful?
I think, well, we'll talk about it offline, I think.
Yeah.
But I think some of it is useful. I think if you do any projecting, that's what's useful.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's not so much as you say, David, the lumpy
Yeah.
part at the beginning, but you do, I assume you continue to project and plan.
Well,
You
you get the
know,
most
and-
fidelity out of this report.
Yes,
Right, and
right,
then you
obviously,
get
'cause
maybe
it's-
the issue is like fidelity and ability to steal, right? Just being
Yeah.
informed, that doesn't help you much if it's all over.
no, but that's where the
If you
projection,
can identify some things coming up that maybe we have to adjust for, that's.
Right.
what's useful.
that's what I would like to
Maybe
know.
Kelly, the big shoes to fill here, maybe you can, think about how that would be useful to us, like project.
Yeah.
Kelly and.
So- And then the thing that can be reported is if any of the budget lines are going over, you know,
That's
Yeah.
also very,
that's
right.
the real important thing.
Yeah,
That
that's
would
helpful
always
to
be
see.
like, at FinTech meetings, I would report that, you
Right.
know, and to report to everybody would make sense.
But you know, Crystal, so any given line item, like a salary, like salary should be fairly linear thing. Right? So that should be pretty true to, you know, timeline. And then some other things, insurance bill or who knows what. They may be lumpy because
We pay them.
you
Yeah,
pay them.
those are
And you don't
preloaded.
like if you do a prepay or something, you're not just putting a 12th in each month. You're just reporting what you spent.
When it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's totally
There's no
cash.
way to,
yeah.
so, but you have the history, so I guess you could build a little macro or something to say, okay, paying this much this month really means we're on this run rate, like.
Yeah.
That's where. So,
All right, should we move on to the next report?
Okay, the next is the CARES and FEMA. I spent a lot of time with these things this past year. And I wanted you to know where we are right now. You know, FEMA, we'll talk about CARES first. The town's allotment was 462, 616. And right now, we have spent 332. So, what they do is they gave us one allotment of money, and then we asked for a second allotment of money. We tried to get it all, but that didn't work because we had the structure added in it, and we weren't, seeing we didn't give vaccines out we couldn't give vaccines out by the end of December, they wouldn't allow that. So there's $95,000 not received from the town yet, by the town yet.
So they won't pay us back for that stuff.
We can talk about that in a second. So there's one last report for an allotment that we can get the rest of our allotment, but the structure has been interesting. It's, I had many conversations with different people from FEMA and CARES, and what we need is a dialogue, a written report, not numbers. I have the numbers, or Kelly has the numbers of what we spent, but we need, why did we spend it? And what happened was, I can see by all the expenses, we were gearing up to do vaccines. And then the governor changed the course. But we need to record that in a
Narrative.
narrative. And I didn't get that. Maybe in the next month we can.
I believe all of that's encapsulated in the minutes of the LEPC.
Yeah, okay.
So I think you could probably, and very well done, described. And you could probably just, cut and paste and put that all together. I don't think you're gonna have to, reinvent the wheel on that one.
And what we said, what happened was I talked to a person at FEMA and he said, it's not gonna fly. But in these, it's really strange, certain expenses, you had to go to FEMA first and get denied. So we have to go to FEMA first, get denied, and then go to CARES. The person at CARES said that should be federal money. So I think we would get reimbursed for it. It's just that narrative has to be made.
Who's gonna drive that process?
Right,
You
so,
guys are gonna drive that? or we-
No, I did the numbers and I asked the police chief, the fire chief, Linda and Tim, and have not gotten it, so.
No, but I mean, putting the narrative
who's
together.
gonna get the
and
narrative form? So,
Pushing it to.
Tim, is
FEMA.
that something you can follow up on, or?
Follow up on that. I'm not the one that's gonna write the narrative.
No,
Sure.
I'm just saying, I think, the minutes that were taken of the LEPC meetings should, which
Yeah, I thought
Christine
those-
Lear has done a good job
Should the
on.
select board be
completing-
writing that letter to, is it to FEMA or to CARES?
It
to
would
FEMA
be
first.
FEMA that would have to
Yeah.
have a good description, and between Bill and I, we could get a report out. We can do a report just for those expenses.
And I suspect, Tim, that Christine, who took the minutes, would be happy to pull out the relevant sections of the minutes going back and put it into some kind of form of a narrative.
Yeah, I'll follow up. on that.
Okay,
It
Great.
should really be reviewed by John and Linda. I mean, once it's
John, yes,
pulled together, I mean, I
Yes.
think they,
Yes,
it should probably
exactly.
come to them, right? And they're-
yeah,
I would think so.
or John maybe is the head of the LAPC, I'm not sure, but we can
Yeah.
figure that
No,
out.
that's exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
As the emergency manager.
right, right, okay,
So, we do have a little bit of money left that we're spending right now. CARES goes through the end of December that we can use the money. FEMA, we've put through $191,000 worth of FEMA
Yeah.
expenses. A good half of that is the testing money.
mm-hmm,
And we have gotten either the money or a contract for almost all of it. Just that last fourth quarter has not been agreed upon yet, but
but you'll be submitting that,
that's already submitted.
oh, it
Everything,
is,
yeah, all that's done.
Okay.
Before I left, that was
Great.
really important to be done.
great, okay,
So it's all done in, I think the final quarter's been okayed. It's just going through all the different steps,
okay,
you know?
all right,
But that's where we're at.
all right. Great, and I see, here below your reports that there is a vote of the select board that needs to be taken, am I right about that? This language here, I, the clerk of the select board of the town of Carlisle, certify that a meeting of the board held on September 28th? No, is that something we,
The next item?
That might be.
oh, that's the
That's the
bond,
bond.
okay, sorry. All righty, got
That
it,
might, yeah.
okay. Well, Priscilla, this is a great opportunity though for us to, I know, you don't
Already
like to
did
be
it.
pointed out, but you
They're
know,
all
since
tour.
yeah, exactly, since we're live and, gives us an opportunity to thank you again for your incredible service to our town, for so many years. And, we just, I know Kelly's gonna do a great job because she started under your wing and, but we will really miss you and really appreciate, what you've done for all of us.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, I have to tell you, I'm sleeping better, so.
Good.
It feels
Good.
really good.
Good. That's great. All right, well, thank you. And then Kelly, we'd like to, Kelly, we'd like to approve you as our new town accountant. And do we have a motion in our packet for that, Tim? Or how
I
do
think
we?
it's as simple as appointing her as the
I move we
town accountant
appoint,
of the town of Carlisle.
Okay.
we have her full name.
You had
I move we
previously-
appoint Kelly Byer to a position of town accountant.
Second?
Any discussion? We're very happy to have you, Kelly. All right, and this can be a roll call vote, correct? I mean, a voice vote.
Yes, because,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, excellent.
Welcome.
Welcome, Kelly. Thank you
Welcome.
so much.
You can be sleepless now.
All righty, it's a little bit after
Thank you.
7:30. We are, Kim, I know you want to try to get out of here. How does is
We have to-
Jenny Merrill on the phone?
She is,
Because I want to check, do we need to start the dog hearing? Because we posted it for 7:30, or can we
if you
take
can start
Kim's?
no sooner than 7:30, you can do the one refunding and get to the hearing when you
Okay.
get to it.
Okay,
Yeah,
and,
Just to interrupt, I don't mean.
yes,
to-
no problem.
Madam Chair, But Jenny sent me a note saying that she can see and hear everything at the meeting. I just don't know if we can hear anybody that's on the call.
Okay.
Are there
Somebody
people
fix
at the
that?
hearing?
Can you hear me?
Oh, good, Jenny. All right, and now we can see you.
All right.
Excellent. Okay, Jenny, so we're gonna get to the dog hearing shortly. We're gonna just take the bond refinancing, which I know Kim has worked very hard on. So Kim Kane, please come on up, our financial director.
Thank you. I have Margaret McLean here too, bond counsel.
Great.
Should you have any questions, she may assist me in some of the signatures, which I'm sure Tim scared you a little bit when he forwarded you some of the.
Yes.
Here it is. So there's several signature pages because there's 16 different bonds you'll have to sign on. But the first thing we'd have to do is the vote by the clerk, which I believe that's what you started to read.
Yes,
David.
okay.
And I have physical things here that I'll need you all to
Okay.
sign. The town clerk's here to certify them.
And actually, I think the clerk is Nathan.
Nathan, yeah.
Yeah,
All
he's
right,
not
so we
here.
don't have
Oh,
our
Nathan's
clerk
the
here.
clerk?
He's
But
the
could
school,
we
he's
have-
the
Oh.
board clerk, or is it the town clerk?
No, it's the
No,
board.
no, the board
The
clerk.
board.
Oh,
Maybe
clerk of the select board. It's
Oh.
Nathan.
Can anybody sign
Nathan.
for the clerk?
Can you appoint
Temporary
one?
appointment of
temporary
a different
appointment,
person to
and
be the
then so
clerk.
we
Used
can
to be
stand
clerk,
out
I'm
and-
high on the learning curve.
All right, so we'll, can I have a motion to
I move
temporarily
that we
appoint David Modell?
temporarily appoint David Modell as our clerk pro tem.
For the select board.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And just so you know, the original bond was over $13 million. And we've now rewritten it for $7,650,000 with a 13% net present savings. So we're saving about 1.1 million over the life of the loan. And we'll
Alright.
capture about 20,000 this year. And the rest will be captured over the 16 years, which is when the bond fully comes due. It's about 930,909 in premiums that we received. And the TIC, the average interest rate that we got was 1.285. So we had 10 bids, so we did a good job on this. Margaret worked really well on it, and pleased that we get it done now before the interest rates start going up. So the motions will be first, I'll have David then sign, and then we'll do the notes.
You want to read mine?
You want the physical copy, David?
No, it's
Here's
okay,
the-
just
here's the
explain what you're
motion
doing.
right here. You're
Oh,
Am I
yeah.
supposed to read it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
read or.
I, the clerk of the select board of the town of Carlisle, Mass, certify that at a meeting of the board held September 28th, 2021, of which meeting all members of the board were duly notified and at which a quorum was present, following votes were unanimously passed, all of which appear upon the official record of the board in my custody. But don't we have to vote them each?
I
Yes.
move that in order to reduce interest costs, the treasurer is authorized to issue refunding bonds at one time or from time to time pursuant to chapter 44, section 21A of the general laws, or pursuant to any other enabling authority to refund all or a portion of the town's $13,854,000 general obligation municipal purpose loan of 2012 bonds dated November 15th, 2012, maturing on November 15th in the years 2022 through 2037 inclusive, collectively the refunded bonds, and that the proceeds of any refunding bonds issued pursuant to this vote shall be used to pay the principal redemption premium and interest on the refunded bonds and costs of issuance of the refunding bonds. That was all one sentence.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Then.
I move that the sale of the $7,650,000 general obligation refunding bonds of the town dated October 5th, 2021, in quotes, in paren, the bonds, to BOK Financial Securities, Inc. at the price of $8,580,909.35, and accrued interest, if any, is hereby approved and confirmed. The bonds shall be payable on September 15th of the years and in the principal amounts and bear interest at the respective rates. And then there is a chart of rates for the various years, all of which are
In the packet.
in the packet.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Why is it like 5% for the first 7 years and then it goes to 2%?
That's the way they stagger the note. They'll do an interest rate of 5%, and then some will decrease, 3%, 2%, 1%. They did 5 through the first 7 years, I think it was, and then
Is that
dropped
to
to 2.
disincentivize you for early?
And then So the interest rate looks higher, but then with the premium, that's the way the tick works out. Do you have
Okay.
a good explanation? Figures.
They're not callable in the 5% years. They're not callable until the 2%.
The callable, which we'll
Who's
see
gonna
what
call it
happens
at
there, which
2%?
who's gonna call
Right.
it 2%, right?
Especially not after J Powell and everybody's done with us.
All righty, any other discussion? All
Is
in
that really the name BOK?
Yes.
Oh, okay. It's just, that's an act, it's not really just BOK. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's a little suspect, yeah. We cheat them in how, yeah.
All right. Any other questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No, it passes.
I move that in connection with the marketing and sale of the bonds, the preparation and distribution of a notice of sale and preliminary official statement dated September 14th, 2021, and a final official statement dated September 22nd, 2021, the official statement, each in such form as may be approved by the town treasurer, be and hereby are ratified, confirmed, approved, and adopted.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. I move that the bond shall be subject to redemption at the option of the town upon such terms and conditions as are set forth in the official statement.
We have a
Second.
second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. I move that the town treasurer and the select board be and hereby are authorized to execute and deliver a continuing disclosure undertaking in compliance with SEC Rule 15C2-12 in such form as may be approved by bond counsel to the town, which undertaking shall be incorporated by reference in the bonds for the benefit of the holders of the bonds from time to time.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. I move that we authorize and direct the town treasurer to establish post-issuance federal tax compliance procedures and continuing disclosure procedures in such forms as the town treasurer and bond counsel deem sufficient, or if such procedures are currently in place, to review and update said procedures in order to monitor and maintain the tax exempt status of the bonds and to comply with relevant securities laws.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That I move that any certificates or documents relating to the bonds, collectively the documents, may be executed in several counterparts, each of which shall be regarded as an original and all of which shall constitute one and the same document. Delivery of an executed counterpart of the signature page to a document by electronic mail in a PDF file or by other electronic transmission shall be as effective as delivery of a manually executed counterpart signature page to such document. And electronic signatures on any of the documents shall be deemed original signatures for the purposes of the documents and all matters relating thereto having the same legal effect as original signatures.
I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. And lastly, I move that each member of the select board, the town clerk, and the town treasurer be and hereby are authorized to take any and all such actions and execute and deliver such certificates, receipts, or other documents as may be determined by them or any of them to be necessary or convenient to carry into effect the provisions of the foregoing votes.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So now you're on, David.
I have to match your
Yeah.
eloquence. Okay. I further certify that the votes were taken at a meeting open to the public, that no vote was taken by secret ballot, that a notice stating the place, date, time, and agenda for the meeting, which agenda included the adoption of the above votes, was filed with the town clerk and a copy thereof posted in a manner conspicuously visible to the public at all hours in or on the municipal building, that the office of the town clerk is located, or if applicable, in accordance with an alternative method of notice prescribed or approved by the Attorney General as set forth in 940 CMR 29.032B, at least 48 hours, not including Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays, prior to the time of the meeting, and remain so posted at the time of the meeting that no deliberations or decision in connection with the sale of the bonds We're taking an executive session, all in accordance with GLC 30A, sections 18 to 25 as amended. Have it.
Okay, so everybody.
All right, now you get to sign it.
Work pen, well, we all have to.
Oh, well, but that needs to be signed by the clerk of the select board, that affidavit that we just read.
Doesn't matter, I got blue pens, you said blue or black?
Black is okay?
I would like
Want blue? Give me
And
blue.
is
You
this
got
all
blue?
the clerk signing all this, but there's stuff that we have to
Give me
sign?
the blue pen.
Okay.
I know you got a blue pen.
This is dark blue.
Hand me the stack.
Is that
right
the only
there,
thing
man.
we're,
Bye, ladies. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Prizzle.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Kelly. Good night. Pass it down the row.
Yeah.
Okay.
let you sign on the top.
Sign while we're there. Hopefully.
This is my Board of Selectmen pen that my son made for me.
Yeah, I remember.
Do you wanna come with Peggy too?
I did.
Yeah, I don't know where you jump in. But,
You all need your, library could probably help.
Can I just put that there?
This is saving the town a lot of money. I want the audience
Yeah,
to know. So it
A
is,
million one.
it's, yeah, worth doing.
And then there is another form that you need to sign. Good. I think so.
Is this one each for each bond, or what is this?
I don't run out of ink.
This is life insurance.
Oh my goodness, it's
There's only 16
thin
of them, you
paper because
guys.
it's going right through the
So I did
paper.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Until I'm off.
Happy I've shortened up my signature.
Is that a special one?
No, she started the count.
Oh.
This is all the clerk.
Ah,
Okay.
These two are the clerk. Flip for when I get. We have one more.
Okay.
we haven't done yet?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Okay, this is your thing.
Yeah. It's one of our steps. And then this and your signature. This is just the vote. You don't have to-
Okay.
More. Have a little sticky on it.
We've got some more to do.
I
Oh.
did the stickies between.
That's
Ah.
okay, I'm catching them back then, that's
The
fine.
select board, we have to have a.
If I could always do with you a sticky on him.
It's not in the budget. We have enough budget for stickies. Sorry. Oh, boy. Do that, I'm over anxious.
We'll go in one
Dave
that is
started
not for
Yeah.
That's Dave, yeah.
All right, Peg.
A new guy.
I saw Clerk, I got all excited. Yeah.
When I first started, I think my signature was so perfect.
All right.
It's just like-
Oh, yeah, no, I stopped. Oscalillo's just too long, and then even Luke got too long. Now it's just like an hour.
Barney thinks Arnold is too long.
Yeah, well, that's what happens, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You good?
Is that it? Oh, those are for yours. Yeah, those are yours. Okay, so that's, I'm good with that.
Look at the stack of paper she's got. This is like refinancing a house. Have you done this recently?
Initial here, sign here, initial here, sign. Initial. Sorry, I'll take my pile of crap.
You got your pile of crap.
I did, it's just, now it's in pieces, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I have one. I've got two of those.
Yes, you can, as you said.
Oh boy. Forgotten how to sign.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, both of you.
Yeah.
And the town, thank
Yeah,
you.
not bad.
This financing, yeah,
It's stamped.
this is here. Refinancing, yeah.
That must be in the old agenda.
Yeah, I think you are. They
Yeah, you only have
sent
88.
out a new packet. Yeah.
The new one's got 90.
Thank you, Kim.
All righty.
Thank you, Margaret.
Okay,
All
so
right.
we are moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is the dangerous dog hearing per Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 157. So to open the hearing, I would like to say that this is a hearing of the Select Board held pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 157, and Section 14.6.7 of the town's general bylaws for the purpose of determining whether the dog named Bo of 480 South Street, Carlisle, Mass. 01741 is a dangerous dog or a nuisance dog, and in either case, to determine the appropriate remedial action to be taken. Now, I want to explain a little bit about what's going to happen. So we will have an order of presentation. The first will be that the board will hear from our animal control officer, Jean Delano. Then from any other witnesses who wish to speak or present evidence, followed by the dog owners, if they wish to speak or present evidence. And after that, the board will take comment or evidence from anyone else who is in attendance and wishes to speak. And I will take comments from those parties in that order. The dangerous dog hearing has been initiated based on the written request of Animal Control Officer Jean Delano dated August 30th, 2021, and the underlying quarantine orders from multiple dog bite incidents and an incident report of a serious dog bite at Great Brook State Park on August 20th, 2021. Subsequent to receiving the complaint from the Animal Control Officer Jean Delano, another dog bite incident was reported to the Carlisle Police Department. So the Select Board is going to begin the public hearing with the testimony from Animal Control Officer Jean Delano. We also have Jenny Merrill here, Town Council, to assist us during the hearing. Jenny, was there anything else I need to say before we take testimony?
I think you're good.
Okay, so I do need to swear in each person that's going to provide testimony. Jean, are you on the phone? Oh, hi, Jean. Oh, great. Okay, so Jean Delano is here in the audience. Jean, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the podium and just say who you are and your address.
My name is Jean Delano. I am the Assistant Animal Control Officer for Carlisle.
So Jean, I'm gonna say the words that you need to say to be sworn in. I, Jean Delano, do solemnly swear
I, Jean Delano, do solemnly swear
that the testimony I'm about to give
that the testimony I'm about to give
is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
is the truth.
Can we
Something.
mute Eva's phone?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Jean, thank you. Yes, please. share your testimony with us. Thank you.
Good evening. I come before you on this dangerous dog, on a dangerous dog complaint as a result of 4 orders of quarantine spanning back to May 11th thereabouts of this year. A subsequent dog bite was reported and the animal was quarantined July 11th, 2 months later. And then there was a report of an attack at Great Brook Farm in, let's see, August, for which another order of quarantine was drawn up. That led me to address the board via email that I believe we have a dangerous dog that we need to have a hearing on, which is why we're here today. Subsequent to that process starting, another dog bite was reported at 480 South Street. And that's why we're here tonight, to determine whether or not the animal is indeed a dangerous dog or a nuisance dog. Welcome any questions. I should also add that I've been asked to read 2 statements from 2 of the parties involved, if that is allowed. If not, I believe the select board has copies of those statements.
Jenny, just let me ask you, is that permissible for Jean to read aloud statements from others involved in this situation?
He can read the statements, and you can, as the hearing authority, can determine if you find them to be credible, and they should be entered into the record along with any of the other documents that Jean has mentioned.
Okay, thank you.
I received from Kevin Kelly, who had been doing work at the residence at 480 South Street, a statement regarding the incident on July 11th, 2021, where Mr. Kelly had been called to the residence on an air conditioning service call. His statement is that while I was working out on the outside unit with my back turned to the oncoming threat, I heard, I'm sorry if I mess up your name, Dave, David Bokunowitz, yell for the dog. Within seconds, the dog had jumped on my back. I stood up and he bit me in the back of my leg and would not release. Dave then yanked him off me. My pants were ripped in the behind. I was bleeding and in shock. I packed up my tools and left for the doctor's office. They also wanted you to know that they've made several attempts to get certain information from the owners and have been unable to do so.
Is that July thing is not in the packet?
Yes, it is. September.
Yeah, no, it's a September statement.
The incident was July 11th.
Statement is
dated
more
September
recent.
24th.
Yeah.
Separately, on statement dated 9/23, submitted by the person who was injured at Great Brook State Park.
Be nice if they were.
It's a long statement. I think
This one was in our packet.
Yeah. I may. On August 20th, 2021, around 4 p.m., I was riding my mountain bike on one of the trails in Great Brook Farm in Carlisle, which I've ridden many times. As I saw the owner approach on a trail, I noticed that both of his 2 dogs, one white pit bull and a smaller brown dog, were off leash. I should note that the breed is actually a Dogo Argentino, for the record.
So which one of these 2 is Bo?
Bo is the white dog.
Okay,
I stopped, dismounted, and moved to the side as I typically do when I approach dogs on a trail. The white dog walked up to me and wouldn't leave. The owner yelled at the dog to come, but it did not. At this point, I started to get a bit uneasy and moved to the side and politely asked the owner to please take control of his dog. Then the dog sank its teeth into my inner thigh and would not let go. The pain was excruciating. The owner tried to gain control of the dog by grabbing its collar, but was unable to do so. At this point, my bike had fallen over and the owner was on his stomach on top of the bike trying to pull the dog off. Eventually it dislodged, but the dog bit me a second time, and again, the owner tried to pull it away. This process occurred 2 more times, at which point my leg was profusely bleeding. I recall panicking by punching the dog in the torso in desperation to get it to remove itself. Finally, the dog owner pulled the dog away by its collar, slapped its face, and apologized to me, saying that this has never happened before. Then he said in a loud voice and a strangely accusatory tone, "Take a look at me, am I injured?" Puzzled, since I was the one injured, I said, I don't know. And he said, "Well, I need to go to the hospital," and he walked away. I asked him for his name, he said, "Dave." I also asked for his phone number, which I verified with him twice before he left. The Carlisle police was unable to contact the owner and thought that the number might be false. I later found out that some of the digits were reordered. This very well could have been my fault, but I did verify the number with him twice. After he disappeared over the hill, I remember hearing him yell to his little dog his little brown dog, to get over here. The small dog came running past me and went over the hill to his owner. At this point, I want nothing more than to get out of there for fear the dog would come back after me. My rear bicycle derailleur was bent and I was panicking to try to get the chain back on the rear cog. I was finally able to bend it back, got the chain on, and painfully biked to the parking lot near the red barn where I called 911. I'm assuming that's the ski barn. Or it could have been the one off the parking lot, I'm not sure. Ultimately, I was taken to Emerson, where I received 15 stitches for 3 puncture wounds. I remember the ER doctor telling me that I was lucky and that it could have been a lot worse. I was unable to contact the owner to determine whether the dog had received its shots. After the Carlisle police put a letter in the town newspaper, a resident thankfully responded, and the police were able to track down and confirm the owner. My stitches have been removed and I'll have scarring, which I don't mind. What makes me upset is that I now am incredibly nervous around dogs. This experience has mentally affected me to the point where I'm afraid to even go for a simple walk on a trail in my town, something I've enjoyed doing with my family for years. According to a conversation I had with the police a couple of weeks after the incident, the owner verbally agreed to pay for my medical expenses, which is all I'm asking for, and confirmed that this dog has had its shots. I was also told that the owner claimed his dogs were in fact on a leash and that I kicked the pit bull. I can assure you with 100% certainty that both statements are false. The very fact that he lied to the police is upsetting to me. Thank you for reading this account of what happened, and I only hope this statement may help protect others in the future. This person specifically asked that his name and contact information, though part of record, not be made public. Do you have any questions?
Are there any other, that's the extent
Well,
of,
those are the 2 statements. Subsequent to this attack at the park, we have a police report that was part of your packet, I believe.
yeah,
A contractor called to the house in September.
this is the contractor you referred to, that was statement number 1. That's the statement number 1. I mean, the
No.
statement number 2 contractor,
This is
third person,
This is the 4th person.
4th person,
This is the
okay,
4th quarantine from 9/21.
okay,
Contractors who had been doing work at the residence for a number of days, evidently, one of them was attacked by the dog inside a room off the garage and also in the driveway, evidently. I refer you to the police report that you have. I don't have a statement from that person.
okay.
There's a lot.
Yes, there is.
Yes.
What was the first incident?
The first incident evidently was a neighbor who came into the house. It was a young girl.
Remember, that was the May 11th one?
Yes.
And she's here, and I will speak to that.
Okay, yep, you'll have an opportunity, for sure.
My understanding is that the girl's father also gave a statement to the police after this last attack that said that his daughter was afraid of the dog.
Okay, so,
That's in your packet as well.
so Jean, you have, reports of 4 different, incidents of this dog
I have
biting,
4 orders of quarantine.
4 orders of quarantine.
There are 2 police reports, number of police reports, but the police reports covering 2 incidents. The second incident, there is no police reports I'm aware of. It was reported to our, dispatch.
So let me clear, so I understand. So the incident at Great Brook State Park was
The third incident,
reported to the police, and we've received a statement
and a police
And-
report from,
and a police report.
You have an extra copy of that.
it's a matter of public record.
Well, I didn't know we were bringing it here.
Well, yeah, yep. And then the last report is we also have a police report on the final incident.
Yes.
Okay, and then the 2 earlier bites, we don't have a statement from the person. We have something in our packet.
You have a
From-
statement from the second quarantine,
Okay,
which was the first contractor in July.
okay,
this
okay.
year.
Uh,
Last name is Kelly.
Statement number 2.
That's statement number 2.
And
Okay,
then the other statement you have is from incident at the state park.
right. And then
number
is there another statement from the most recent bite?
No, there is not.
Okay,
We have extensive police reports. for that.
okay.
So, Gene, can I ask you a procedural question? You get an incident's reported to you when an order of quarantine comes out,
Correct.
and how long is that for?
Quarantine lasts for a 10-day period from the moment the bite
So
occurs.
and that means confinement,
It means confinement in the
Don't do it
home
in
and that the animal cannot
you know.
be walked without being tethered to a person.
So did any of these incidents happen during the quarantine period?
Mm, No.
So
Third-
July,
The third, they were spaced out about 2 months apart and then another month
so,
apart.
I mean, if a quarantine order came out, there's no evidence to say that the parties did not comply with the quarantine. One
No,
assumes they
no,
complied.
no evidence of that whatsoever.
If I may add something,
Go ahead.
there's also, Gene, the temporary restraint order.
Oh, yes, there have been 2, well, there's a temporary restraining order that was issued as a result of the third incident.
Which is the Great Brook State Park one.
Yes, which means that, again, the animal was held confined, similar to being quarantined, really, until this hearing happened.
Okay,
There should be a subsequent restraining order for the,
4th incident. That wasn't after the Great Brook Farm. I got the phone call from the police, and it wasn't a.
okay, well, hold on. Yeah, you will definitely have your opportunity to,
It's hard to sit here and listen to it.
oh, yeah, I appreciate that it is, but
The attorney when they issue.
I know, but
It's just giving you wrong information.
yeah, okay, hold on. We will definitely take,
it's not my
information from
intention
you
to
as
give wrong
well.
information at
Yeah,
this
no, I'm
hearing.
sure Gene is doing his
Temporary
best.
There's
Yeah.
9/8.
So there's a,
21.
in our packet, there's a temporary restraining order that's dated 9/8/21.
Right.
So that would.
Okay,
That
and
was
that's after receiving a complaint on 8/20.
That is the third
That's
incident.
the bicycle
It is the
rider,
third incident.
yeah.
Right.
Okay, so it is a third,
Yeah.
but in any case,
What hasn't been issued is a second restraining order for the 4th incident.
Got it.
Right,
but,
okay.
Well,
but,
it's
Okay.
recommended, correct? You want to put that on the record too?
All right.
Well, wait a
Again,
minute.
I have to ask, please, I know it's difficult to hear something that you don't agree with, but you need to respect the way we're running the hearing. Hang on, hang on. I know, but you'll have an opportunity, and we really need to follow the process that we've outlined here to make this work. There's a
so,
requirement for how we run the
Gene,
hearing.
just
We
to,
never received the restraining order for the 3rd incident.
Yeah,
It was
you just
sent,
need-
it was sent to the address 480 South Street by certified mail by,
Is that the one we have the receipt from?
but,
Okay.
Gene, let me just ask you a question. If the report of the incident number 4 is accurate as stated by what you
the
read,
police report. Mhm.
the landscaper going through the mudroom and everything, it's possible that the dog was inside in the quarantine environment
I wasn't at the residence.
No, but I mean, I'm saying, if as reported is what happened, the dog is inside, and the guy comes inside, right? I just wanna,
I think if you read the
Those-
police report, the narrative is fairly,
yeah, so it's almost irrelevant about the restraining. The dog was in the residence at the time of that incident, is what I understand.
that's my understanding, and it also came out outside the residence, but
No,
it's still on their
Danny comes
property,
out.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I just, so I mean, there are 4 incidents here, right? And we're first hearing about it now. So what actually brings it to the level of, you know, where it has to come before us? I mean, is it,
It's unusual for, I've only been doing this position since the end of October 2019. I'm very familiar with the dog officer position and the animal control position. There hasn't, I don't recall there being one quarantine stacked on another before, so that was a concern of mine. Subsequent conversations with the owner, I pushed them to get the dog licensed in town. The dog wasn't licensed at the time, at the second incident. After the newspaper account came out, I recognized who likely the dog was. Evidently, several other people did as well. That prompted me I felt it was my duty to bring this forward. I'd had multiple conversations with the owners. We're here to protect the public,
oh, no,
so
exactly. No, I just wondered if like 1 triggered it or 3, or like if there was a specific.
it's no magic number, but I think
Okay,
if the
yeah.
first incident had been a bite,
Yeah.
it would have risen
Right.
to a level of concern. You know, one incident can be reported by anyone in town, and you can be asked to have a dangerousness hearing, just like this.
Oh, okay.
But there's 4 incidents here, so.
Right, any other questions we have of Jean?
Give me my,
I have one which,
What would you like?
I'm not sure it's for Jean or Jeannie, but Jean,
Jenny.
since
Jenny.
Jenny, sorry, since you're here on the stand, so to speak, how would you define a nuisance dog versus what's the other one? A dangerous, what are the 2 categories?
Yeah.
Nuisance and dangerous?
Well, it's kind of spelled out in mass law, but a nuisance dog is a dog that, say, might harass livestock, or might be an excessive barker, or might threaten but never engage with a person walking down the street. I think a dangerous dog, that next level, probably involves a bite or a report of a bite. I want to be clear that the first incident, which is evidently contested, my involvement was strictly because I received a bite report from Emerson Hospital stating that a person who evidently is here had presented at the emergency room or at a walk-in clinic and had been involved with a dog. Specifically, it's the box that was checked was either a bite or a scratch. They counted as the same type of incident for exposure purposes. So that's when I started being involved.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions from us on this at this point? Okay, so then let me move on. Is there any other, thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
Any
Jean.
other, let's see, what's the right wording? Sorry, let me go back to my specific document. Is there any other person who is a witness that wishes to testify?
I'm an owner and I'm a witness to 2 of the events.
I'm an owner and a witness, and I
Yeah,
have other people.
but you're the
here.
dog owner, right?
We are both the dog.
Dog,
owners.
so, yeah, that's fine. So you're the next ones that should have an opportunity to speak. So please, why don't you both come up as the owner of the dog, and again, introduce yourselves and state where you live. And then we would love to hear what you have to say.
Good evening, my name is Shauna Simic, and this is David Buckinevich, and my daughter Sabella Simic and Summer Simic, and we all live at 480 South Street in Carlisle. I guess first and foremost, I want to apologize that my dog harmed anyone. I mean, we never wanted anyone to get harmed by our dog. And it's unfortunate that we are here. But we purchased Bo in like October of 2019. He's lived at our home since then. He goes away with us every weekend. He goes skiing up in Maine every weekend, boating in New Hampshire, hiking all through New England, down the Cape at the beach. I mean, we are away every single weekend. He's part of our family. He goes to other people's houses. He goes to parties with us. We have 2 children. Their friends come over all the time. Their friends sleep over all the time. You know, he's had tons of frequent interactions with people. And so, you know, it's hard to sit there and hear these 4 incidents and you not see the dog, and one would think that he's just arbitrarily a vicious dog. And I'm just trying to convey that he's not a dog that, you know, attacks people without a reason. He's not unpredictable. He is a protective dog. He is. And as you see, 3 of these incidents happened at our home. And I will go through each incident because, you know, I think they need to, because according to Mass General Law, Chapter 140, 157, there are 4 exceptions in which you can call for which a dog can attack and not be found dangerous. And I believe they apply here. I mean, first, I have a letter from our vet, and it says, to whom it may concern, Bo Simic has been examined at Neshoba Veterinarian Hospital on several occasions for routine examinations and his castration. For the past 2 visits, our hospital was curbside, so no clients were allowed in the building with their pet. His last visit was on November 24th. His physical exams were unremarkable, and I made no remarks as to his behavior, temperament issues. Per Dr. Craig Smith, on November 20th, 2019, he was noted to be a nice dog. So, I mean, he's gone other places, and with people without us, and has been with people, which you will see as well. So I needed that to get across at the beginning. So, because I feel like it just seems like you're dealing with this vicious dog that attacks everyone. And we do get a little upset because he's our family member that someone's talking about. So that, I apologize, but I wanted to there were some things that were said that were incorrect. But like I said before, Mass General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 157, gives 4 exceptions for a dog being dangerous after biting. And one of them is a dog cannot be found dangerous if at the time of the attack or threat, the person or animal that was attacked or threatened by the dog had breached an enclosure or structure in which the dog was kept apart from the public, and such person or animal was not authorized by the owner of the premises to be within such enclosure, including but not limited to a gated, fenced-in area if the gate was closed, whether locked or unlocked. So, I would ask that you examine each incident individually and not as a whole, because there are circumstances and facts for each incident. The first incident, Jamie is my neighbor. She's here. She has been coming over my house since we got Bo, and has just come into my house with her daughter. Her daughter slept at my house. We frequently have weekly dinners together. And on the day in question, Jamie called me because her daughter Ella had a splinter, and she was freaking out, and Ella, who was 8 at the time, wouldn't let her mother remove it. So I told her to come over and that I would remove it for her. I was upstairs in my bedroom, and my daughter Summer was getting ready for school. Sabella was already at school. And the next thing I heard was a screaming and commotion. Jamie came with Ella to my door, as she always had, and always just walked right in. But this time Ella was screaming bloody murder because of her splinter, and was upset and didn't want me to remove it. So when she opened the door, she was screaming and crying, and entered the mudroom holding Ella, and Bo ran to the door and jumped up on her and Ella was scratched. I was the one that went to the hospital with them because I wanted it, wanted it to be looked at, and it was fine. They just gave her bacitracin. She has since been to my home many times after that. She is not afraid of Bo. However, we have, from now on, from that point on, from May on, no one is allowed in my house just to walk in on their own. She used to just come over and walk in. And after this incident, we said everyone has to knock before coming in, so that we can let them in, because, you know, a dog can't tell if a person entering is harmful or not. And given the screaming, it scared the dog and he reacted. Bo was startled by her. In fact, when this incident got reported and I spoke to the dog officer, he admitted that his dog would have done the same thing had a kid come screaming into his house. We were standing in my driveway. So, I mean, it wasn't, you know, we put something in place so that that didn't happen again. Unfortunately, we then had the contractor, Mr. Kelly, come to our house 2 months later. And we recently built an addition. I don't know, but we doubled the size of our house. We had every contractor, every kind of contractor under the sun at our house. And Bo, you know, we had multiple contractors in our home for months and nothing ever happened, because we always kept Bo in his crate when we had, when contractors were in our home and or working inside or outside our home. We always had Bo in the crate, or on a leash outside. I mean, we get our lawn mowed weekly. We get propane delivered. We had electricians, we had framers, we had plumbers, we had, you name it, everything. And anytime someone was on our property, we had the dog in a crate or outside on a leash. And we have beware of dog signs. And it's important for this incident. And I have pictures of beware of dog signs. This is a picture of my home. It is a gated in backyard. Here's a picture of the gated in backyard.
Thank you.
And on the door to enter the gate to get into the backyard is a beware of dog sign. Okay. And there's another beware of dog sign on the tree in the front of the house as well. So David hired Mr. Kelly to come repair our air conditioning unit located outside. Mr. Kelly had previously been in my home to install an air conditioning unit. No one was home that time. No, but we're talking about the second time. So David hired him to come, and he informed the contractor, reminded Mr. Kelly that we have dogs and that we were going to be home, and that he was to call him when he arrived, like we always do with all contractors. When you get here, call me and I'll take you to where it needs to be, what needs to be fixed or what needs to be done. That was our standard procedure. He knew we had dogs. We had beware of dog signs, everything. The contractor didn't contact us, even though we were home. He went straight into the yard through the closed gate in which there was a beware of dog sign. And because we didn't know he was in the yard, we let the dog out to go to the bathroom, which we always let him out on a leash had we known that the contractor was there. We had no knowledge. And, you know, he breached the enclosure. We told him to contact us before we could. And it was very difficult listening to that, because the dog jumped on him and I didn't see it. I was home. He saw it. We had 2 other workers there. And then I was told that the dog jumped on him and nipped him. And I asked him, are you okay? And he's like, yeah. He finished working that day. He worked for another hour and a half after the dog nipped him. He worked. Then he left. Everything was fine. And David got a call from his wife saying, how are you going to compensate us? And that's where the whole thing took off. And totally different situation than what was had before. We've tried to contact him numerous times, like, to see how he was. The wife said, you're not allowed to talk to him. You can't talk to him. We've since been, we just got a letter from his attorney yesterday. So I think Gene said that he wrote a letter saying that he's been trying to get in touch with us and sent us letters. We got a letter from his attorney last week, was the first conversation. So
I have emails from the wife.
emails from the wife just saying, how are you gonna compensate us? How are you
I
gonna
offered to
compensate?
pay for any hospital bill, and I offered to pay for his time at work. I was there when it happened. Okay, he walked in the backyard, the dog jumped on his back, nipped him, didn't even really get him.
There was no tear because I saw
put the
him.
dog- I put the dog in the house. Me and him worked side by side. I'm an electrician, that's what I do. We worked side by side for over an hour. When he went to leave, I asked him if he was okay. He said he was fine. His wife then called. I talked, that's what you know what I mean? He hired she after that hired an attorney. Every conversation I had with him had to go through his wife. So I'm just curious if he gave the statement or his wife gave the statement. That you got. I'm curious if it was the wife or it was him. Because the wife wasn't there, so if the wife gave a statement, I mean, it couldn't
Yeah.
possibly be.
Okay.
But who did
What's
he
his
talk
wife's name? Kevin.
Did you speak to
Did you
Mr.
speak to
Pellet?
him?
Yeah, you can't question Gene.
No, I just.
Yeah.
This isn't an interrogation of Gene. okay?
Right.
I'm
We're
not,
just-
No, but
saying
it's
you-
not appropriate for you guys to do that.
All right.
Yeah,
You can
sorry, so
address
let's,
the
I
board.
was just curious if.
And that's fine, but you're to address this board.
All right,
yeah, you're addressing us, and also I will say that whatever's going on between you and the contractor in terms of a suit or
Has nothing to do-
insurance,
that
has
has nothing
nothing
to
to
do
do
with
with
that.
this,
Nothing to
okay?
do with that.
So I
What
understand,
his motives are.
yes,
And
okay.
what I'm saying
let's-
is the recount of the story you heard is.
You're disagreeing with
is
that,
Totally disagreeing, and I
Yeah,
have
okay,
pictures
I
to
hear
show
you.
and everything, and
Yep.
so that's what's kind of hard, is he's reading a story, and I have a
Yes.
total
There
different
was
Yeah.
4
recollection.
people in my home when it happened.
And we have 4 witnesses to that effect, who we've already gave to the lawyer, but
okay, so
Anyway,
let's go
moving
on
on.
and tell us about the third incident,
the
yeah,
third incident. That
at
was
Great
another one. You
Brook.
said you had a police report, and I didn't see the police report. I did read oh, I did, well, it's funny because the police report differs from the statement that was
That
just
the
read.
Statement from the victim, and the police report doesn't say that.
The police report says something totally different that happened than what the victim statement that was just
Doesn't
read.
go into detail.
So what's your explanation about
Surely, so
what happened at Great Brook?
okay, so we've had this dog for 2 years. The dog goes on a 2-hour hike every single day. The dog goes to Great Brook Farm, has been going to Great Brook Farm with David since we got him off leash every day. And has run into multiple people, multiple bikes, everything. Our trainers here, we do training recall. We had initially, we're doing a lot of training with him, and then we never had any issues. He's always been off leash, never had one issue in over 600 visits to Great Brook Farm. On this incident, the dog was protecting or defending itself, I believe. So what happened was, go ahead if you want to, go ahead.
Yeah,
So I was the one walking the dog at the time, all right? And I'm gonna tell you right now that I feel terrible and I'm so sorry that anyone got it. It could have been avoidable if I was on a leash that time. I walked him, like Sean said, 2 years daily off leash. Daily, you have to understand, so he's never, ever done this. And he hasn't done it since. Something like this was totally out of his character. I have witnesses here that will tell you, so there had to be something that provoked him. All due respect to the, to the victim, my account of the situation is a little different. So I wasn't paying attention. Okay, I should have been paying attention, and I take full responsibility for the action because Bo has total recall. If I call the dog, it'll come right back to me. But if, like any dog, if the switch is clicked and he's chasing a squirrel or chasing something, he's not gonna come back. Once that switch is clicked, he just won't listen. So if I was paying attention, I could have called him back. I came up over the hill. I saw the victim on the bike, okay? Bo ran up to the bike. He
the
like,
victim was stopped,
the victim was stopped on the side. He wasn't off his bike. He was on his bike. He just stopped, like, cause
Yep.
we just came over the hill together. I didn't see him. I saw him. I walked up. Bo ran up. I yelled at Bo. He yelled, the victim yelled, and he didn't say it nicely. He said, "Get your dog." Okay, I immediately, which is fine, I get it.
And I
Bo's a
understand it
big
could be
dog.
scary.
Bo's a big dog. I completely understand it, and
Yep, so
I
what
was
happened
devastated
then?
over what happened.
Yeah,
So Bo jumped on his front tire, then he kicked that Bo. Then Bo jumped on the bike. None of this was in the police report either, but the officer that took the police report verbally told me that this is what happened. I grabbed
But the
Bo,
victim said that this.
I
is what-
grabbed Bo by his harness, and I had him, okay? At that point, it's over, it's done. I had Bo, I had control of him, he has a harness on with a handle. The victim, scared, you know, I completely understand, removed his bicycle helmet, swung his bicycle helmet, okay? Missed Bo and hit me in the face. I have a scar over my eye. He said, you know, I have I mean, I can walk around and show you, all right? I had 3 cuts on my face. I was dazed, I went down. That's why I ended up on the ground. I didn't end up on the ground for no reason. I ended up on the ground because I was hit in the face. I was dazed, I lost control of the dog. What do you think the dog did? The dog just saw this guy strike me in the face with a helmet. Bo bit him. So sad. I was traumatized over it. I grabbed Bo, I got control of him, I pulled him off. And then I backed up and I looked at the victim and I said, "Are you okay?" And he went like this. And he said, I think so. And I said, so I don't know I'm injured because of the adrenaline going and this thing happened. The whole thing took 30 seconds and it was over. And next thing you know, I had blood pouring down my face. So I looked at him and I said, and you know, understandably, he was scared of the dog. Hold on to the dog. So I looked at him and I said, am I bleeding? And it felt like my eyebrow was flapping. And I said, you know, I asked him, I said, how bad is my cut? Am I bleeding bad? And he just looked at me. He didn't answer me. You know, he said, you're bleeding. And I said, are you okay again? And he said, I think so. He said, we should exchange information. I gave him my number. And when I talked to Sergeant Matt, one number was wrong on the number. Okay. I'm known in the town. And now don't forget, this is Great Brook Farm. I walk my dog there daily for 2 years. People there know me. They know Bo. They know my dog. I was accused by the dog officer of fleeing the scene. When I first met with him, he said, it sounds to me like you fled the scene. I said, that is not true. I would never do that. And I said, and he wasn't bleeding. He had a smudge of blood right here. So I gave him my information. He told me he was okay. I felt it was the best thing was to get the dog, you know, out of the area and out of the situation right there. And he had my phone number. I returned to Great Brook Farm the next day with the dog to walk him on leash. The dog has not been off leash since that. Okay, and I walked him for a full week after that. When I got a phone call from the police, and then I found out, and then I met with the dog officer. But that's what happened with that.
okay, and the final incident, you want to say
Final
something about that?
I wasn't there.
I was the one that reported the bite to the police, that incident. Okay, we hired Modesto Landscaping, who has been mowing our lawn for over 2 years. They come weekly. They did our spring cleanup, our fall cleanup. They know we have dogs. They know because I bring the dog out on a leash to go to the bathroom every time they're there weekly. We hired them to do, they've never been inside my home, ever, because they're landscapers. We hired them to do an outside wall in front of my yard. And they were working on the wall, and I can show you. So they're working on the wall. I'm home. I pull up that day. I pull up with my daughter. We go in the house. I said, and they saw me because I have to pass them in order to get in the front, into the door. We don't use the front door. We only use the mudroom door, which shows picture. And I said, the wall looks great. I go in with my child. David leaves with my other child to go to the barn and says, do you want me to close the garage? And they said, no. We never gave them permission to go inside our house. We let them store the materials for the stone wall that they were building in the garage. Now, mind you, I had just received notice that we were having a dangerousness hearing, like the day before this incident. This incident was on a Tuesday. On Monday, I found out we were having a dangerousness hearing, okay? So I'm in my house, my daughter's in the living room, the two dogs sitting with her. I'm about to get on my Peloton. And all of a sudden, I hear my daughter start screaming. She heard, and she's here, she can testify on what she heard. She told the police, it's in the police report, the police met with her. She was sitting on the couch. She heard the door open, Bo went running, ran to the guy, and then was outside. And by the time I got outside, he was holding a metal rake, jabbing at my dog. It was done. He had the chance. He was outside. The dog got outside of the house because he opened the door. I never told him. I have pictures of inside my garage. The police saw the inside of my garage when they came. There's another door from the garage. This is inside my garage. There's a door that leads to the backyard that they had to go in every single day to mow the lawn, to pass the beware of dog sign, just everything. And they chose to go through my house while I'm home. All they had to do was knock on the door and tell me they were leaving instead of coming through my house. And so he got bit.
Our 9-year-old daughter was upstairs, the dog was laying at his feet, all right? So when he entered our home, the dog jumped up.
The
He
dog
saw
was
the dog.
protecting our house.
He ran. The dog chased him, just like any dog would do. He chased him outside, the guy picked up a rake, Bo bit him in the arm, that was it. He didn't repeatedly bit him, he bit him once in the arm, but he entered our home. A
Without
knock on the
permission.
door would have settled that. That
All he
would
had to
never
do was
happen.
knock on the door.
And it says in there that I gave him permission to enter our home. I never gave him permission to enter our home. There was no reason for him to be in our home.
He could close the garage
He
and
worked
go
through
out.
the garage. We had a back door in the garage. He could have went out that door. I showed Sergeant Mack that. He never put that in his report. I showed him it. I said, there's the back door. That's where he was supposed to go out. He was never supposed to enter our home. So if he went out the back door, the walk would have been 50 yards instead of 10 yards. So he entered our home. Even if he entered the home and he heard the dog and he ran out and shut the door, he would have been fine. It's literally 8 feet from door to door.
I have a
But he
picture.
ran out and left the door open.
Okay,
And that's how the dog got out. I mean, I'm sorry he got hurt.
Okay, well, but you have to understand, to you it's a dog, to us it's both.
no, I think we do understand that from
We're
what
all
you
dog,
said.
we're all
Thank you.
dog owners.
Yeah.
So I
We're all
just wanna
dog-
show you.
So,
No,
so the dog is a
Yeah, you-
protective
you don't-
dog,
you
and
have to-
after these
Yeah.
incidents,
That into the public
Hold on,
record,
let
so
me-
you're gonna have to send him a picture.
I'll send them.
Yeah.
Because, no, it needs to be admitted for the public record.
so yeah, let's see if we
We've
can wrap
put in-
up your part if
we've
possible.
put in,
Thanks.
we've already instituted multiple things. The dog is back in training. The trainer's here. He's gonna talk to you about it. After the incident with Jamie and her daughter, no one's allowed to just walk into our house. We have beware of dog signs. The dog is, I'm gonna add another gate to the inside of my house. I mean, that way if the problem is, a dog can't tell if someone's there to just run through or is there to
Ma'am,
harm
can I,
us.
just let me, we've heard that. Let's just, one question for you.
Yeah.
You've had the dog since 2019.
Yes,
4 reported incidents in the last, like, in a 5-month period, not 19, not 20,
yeah.
not till
Why?
May. What, in your mind, does something happen that
Honestly?
suddenly there's 4 incidents? Now, there's all reasons, I get it, but there's 4 incidents that happen in.
2
short
of
period
them?
time.
But the 2 contractors were absolute horrible bad luck. They shouldn't have entered. I do everything I can.
You said all that, you don't have
But
to.
you know what I mean?
I
the-
know what
the
you
one
mean, but
with
there's
Ella?
4, I'm just saying,
The
I-
one,
You're asking a question, we're trying to answer.
like, that's,
Your best to-
nothing else. You can
the
ask the trainer. Now, he hasn't
Okay.
changed any other way. I think it's honestly been a horrible, like,
I could have brought literally 100 people in here. I'm just telling you, I could have brought 100 people in
Yeah.
here. They would have took up 3 hours testifying that my dog
Yeah.
was friendly. Every contractor that worked on our home, I work with them. I'm an electrician. They've been around my dog. If I brought my dog in here right now, he would wag his tail and walk up to everyone in here. He's not a vicious dog. He's
But
not a dangerous dog.
now that we
Something
see
to do.
that he is very protective. He is a protective dog. If you come in my house and you just barge in, he's protective. He might take it the wrong way. We've instituted these things on our own. No one is
So
allowed
is
in
there
our house.
anything new that you haven't told us yet about what have you instituted at your house? What's new that you haven't already said?
So, well, I'm gonna put a gate in.
Yep, you said
No,
that.
at the top of the stairs inside my house.
Yes, you
So
said
he
that.
can't
So
get
that
to the
he can't do that.
mudroom
He's
where
always
Tony
on a
gets-
leash.
Okay,
He's
always on a leash when you take him out of the house?
From now on, he's never
Never
off
gonna let him
leash,
Okay.
ever, ever.
After the
Um,
Great Brook Farm thing, I would never let him off.
If a contractor is coming to our house, the entire day, the dog will be on a leash or in the crate. Because I can't trust that people aren't, I should be able to trust that people won't come in my house without my permission, but I'm getting blamed for these people coming in my house who didn't have my permission. And, it's hard. Yeah, they came in without permission just to do that. How did they, but the dog didn't know. What if it was someone coming in to physically harm my child? Like the dog can't tell the difference.
Yes.
So
Okay, so is there
I'm
anything
trying.
else? Right, I hear you.
Um,
Thank
I
you.
know, the trainer's
Anything else?
working on other
Okay,
things.
so hold on, but that's the end of your testimony.
That is the end of mine, the trainer.
Okay,
We'll say what he's been doing,
okay.
what he believes.
Then we'll hear from the trainer. Thanks. Oh, I was supposed to swear you both in. Shoot, I didn't do that. My bad.
Well, you can do it now.
you
Yeah.
have to
I can't do it after the fact, though.
Well, you can
Can I,
ask.
Jenny? No, that doesn't do anything.
Does that mean testimony is inadmissible? What does that mean?
No, it
Oh, I
just.
can do it all over again.
No, please
No,
don't.
she had just recommended I swear in everybody in addition to Jean, but it was
Well,
only
swear Dan in.
required that I
Swear Dan in.
swear in Jean, so,
He's sus anyway, so that's
well,
fine.
anyway, come on up, and please introduce yourself and,
There's one other thing
where
I'm
you
sorry, I
live.
should say. Jamie can't, I spoke for Jamie because her, eldest daughter is giving her a very difficult time. I think she had to get an attorney, hence why he called the police on me to try to get her. So she, on advice of her counsel in a legal matter with her, the father of her child, she couldn't speak to her children on her behalf, but she wanted to be here to show that she supported everything I said.
I'll be saying.
Oh,
okay. Thank you. If you would come forward, say your name and where you live,
Hello,
and then I'm gonna swear you in.
my name is Daniel Vigent, and I live in Chelmsford, Massachusetts.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. What's your last name?
Vigent,
How do you spell that?
Vigeant.
Thank you. So, would you say after me, I, and then your name, do solemnly swear
I, Daniel Vigent, do solemnly swear
that the testimony I'm about to give
that the testimony I'm about to give
is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, if you could make your statement brief, that would be great, since we've got a lot more on our agenda.
You have to cut some out.
Yeah, I just want to speak on the behalf of Bo and his family here today that I've been a dog trainer for over 10 years now. I've worked with Bo since he was approximately 6 months old. I have accompanied Dave multiple times in Great Brook Farm on training sessions. Bo has come to my house, interacts with my family, my dogs, neighbors, things like that. The dog has never been known to be aggressive or, show any tendencies of that nature that I've witnessed. It's my belief that he's not a dangerous dog. Seems to be a series of unfortunate events. When people come into your household, no one would be able to get into my house without the chance of getting bit. I have 4 dogs of my own. A Dogo Argentino is a very family-oriented dog, as opposed to some of the smaller dogs and things like that. So they are known to be very protective of their family and their property. Those are things that, can occur. I have been working with the family to implement some of these new precautionary measures, to prevent these types of things from happening again. The gate, some extensive furthering the training. The dog has been with me since the last incident and has been getting further training. I've had him out around bicycles, rollerbladers, had him out, and no incidences have occurred.
Okay, thank you. And, Daniel, what's the name of your company?
Dog Boss Dog Training,
Dog Boss Dog Training, based in Chelmsford?
correct.
Okay, great. Thank you, Daniel.
All right.
Does anyone else want to offer testimony? Yes. Please come on up and again, state your name and where you live.
Oh, honorable select board. My name is Jason Suderman. I live at 50 School Street. I'll be planning on accepting many candy donations this year for Halloween, by the way. My family and I moved here in 2018, August. And nearly immediately, my younger daughter befriended Summer, Shauna's younger daughter, and had an overnight nearly the first week of school. Shortly after, right about the time Bo showed up, we had continued overnights. We had multiple fun experiences. We would come over to the house, no big deal. They'd come over to our house, no big deal. Everything was very mellow. I'm also a coach for NESCA, the New England Scholastic Cycling Association, which we practice 3 nights a week in season, the springtime at Great Brook. And it's about 40 kids, and we're all on bikes, about 20 adults, and we break out into groups, and we ride. We're training for races. And that time frame between 5 and 7 is the identical time frame that Dave is walking both Bo and Comet, right? And we bumped into him on several occasions, never an instance. And we're talking about kids from 9 years old, my daughter included, my 9-year-old, up to about 15, 16 years old, and multiple adults. And we're going all different directions because we're all different skilled groups. And we've never, ever had an incident with Bo. Even coming over a rise, there's Bo, big white Bo, and never a problem. So we're, sad and shocked, etc. My daughter is also, every year that we've been here, we've had a birthday sleepover and multiple other sleepovers at their house, at our house, and never an incident, never whatsoever. Everything's been very calm, cool, collected. So this change is shocking. It's saddening. We take protocol as well, beware dogs. I'm a former owner of a Rhodesian Ridgeback who sadly, happily he passed out here, not in Somerville, where we're from. And he was a big dog, 100 pounds, no problem. And he had figured, he started to get triggered by a doorbell or a knock.
Okay,
And then
sorry, I
similar.
do want to just have you keep,
Yeah,
see if there's
right on
anything
point.
new you want to say about
So
Bo.
with that, I'll close. There was never an incident on our end. I'd speak
Okay.
to the credibility of both Shauna and Dave as far as being stand-up. They're
Okay.
there.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else want to speak? Please come forward and state your name and where you live. Thank you.
My name is Harry White. I live at 1032 North Road in Carlisle. I actually own 491 South Street, where my daughter lives. And I'm going to cut this short because I know everybody's got issues. I've been briefed on the plan. I believe that Shauna and Dave are responsible adults. They understand the issue. And the plan is worthy, okay? We're in full support of the plan. There was a comment that somebody made with regard to Ella's fear. I want to just say that Ella's fear of dogs existed way before Bo. Ella's fear actually, in some respects, perpetuates an excitement. I have 2 dogs. I have 2 Goldens, and one's a jumper. And Ella will, when she comes over, tends to be really concerned, which causes more interaction, if you will.
Yeah.
So to that end, we fully support the plan, and we
Okay.
fully support Dave and Shauna.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else have something new to say or offer? Jean, do you have any comment at this point? Are you,
I would just say no one wants to be here.
why don't you come up and just briefly say it into the mic? Thank you.
I would just say that no one wants to be here having this hearing. It's, the circumstances that came into play to cause us to be here to discuss this are not pleasant. I'm here out of a duty to the community to bring forth what I think is a legitimate claim for a hearing. And I leave it in your hands to make whatever decision you will make. I make myself available to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jean. So our task right now as a select board is to determine whether to close the public hearing or to continue it to a later date. And one reason we could continue it is that we want the opportunity to read through things, you know, think about what the testimony has been, and then continue the hearing at our next select board meeting. Were we to decide that we don't want to continue the hearing, that would mean that we are ready tonight to render a decision about whether or not to categorize this as a dangerous dog or a nuisance, et cetera, as outlined in our packet. So I'd like comments from the other members about whether we should close the hearing or continue it.
If I may,
Yes, Jenny.
before you, I recognize you may not be closing the hearing tonight, but one thing you probably should do before you close the hearing is just list the documents that people have been referencing that are going to be entered in as evidence.
Okay, either way, we should list those
You
probably.
should list them out. I mean, I know you have them in the packet, but you should probably list them out for the benefit of people attending the hearing.
Okay. So shall we do that now before we make a decision about whether or not to close the hearing?
Yeah, I would do that before you close the hearing, for sure.
Okay.
Can you do it next time? Or do we need to do
No,
it now?
close the hearing.
You could do it next time if you're not going to close the hearing.
Okay,
I think we need
so,
to continue it.
Question before you do that,
No,
what
no, no.
happens to the dog? What am I supposed to do with the dog?
okay, hang on, we'll get to that in just a second. So, David, you're just to postpone the hearing.
I'm very
until-
concerned
for a
with it.
week? Yeah,
We're gonna have to table
Lou,
certain things tonight.
you
as
wanna-
it is.
continue the hearing till next meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I think, new information was introduced right before the meeting, so I think everybody should have a
Yeah.
chance to do that. I do have a couple of questions for council.
Yeah. Okay, so we are going to continue the hearing to our next select board meeting. Now the question is, and Jenny, maybe you know the answer to this, if not, maybe Jean. The dog owner is asking, so what happens with the dog from now until the continuation of the hearing?
Well, so there is some discussion about whether or not the dog owners know about the temporary restraint order, which I mean, I've seen it, so I know it's been mailed. That should probably be provided to them again, because I think that is in place for 30 days or until you guys make a decision,
Okay,
and could be extended if 30 days passes. And the temporary restraint order basically just says that the dog needs to be humanely restrained until the
hearing is
hearing has
concluded.
been concluded.
I had to remove the dog from the home. It's in the police report that I was told I needed to remove the dog from my home.
We were requested to. And we
Yeah.
did comply.
And I complied with that. And
But
so the
humanly
dog,
restrained, we'll agree to that.
so that's why I'm asking what the deal is right now with the dog.
So that is, if there is an order of temporary confinement in place, then that would also dictate what you do. The animal control officer could issue an order of temporary confinement as well.
Hold on, let her, excuse me,
This is our council.
Jenny, finish. This is our town council, okay? Please let her finish. You'll have a chance, okay, afterwards.
So, there are a couple options under the bylaw that allows the animal control officer to make sure that the dog is safe to the public while pending your decision, because the statute, there's this gap between when there's a complaint and when there's actual result, a determination under the hearing. So during that time, the animal control officer can issue a temporary restraint order, or temporary confinement order, or both. And those are in effect until you guys have reached a decision, or for 30-day increments.
Right, so currently, there is a temporary restraining order issued on the dog. And we will make sure that you have a copy of that,
That's it.
a new
Only-
copy.
Manual restraint.
That's it.
And that temporary restraining order requires humane restraint
Right,
at all times,
perfect.
correct?
Yeah.
All right,
agree to that.
We agree to that.
all right.
You don't have a choice.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not, this isn't a
No, we
discussion.
get it, we get it.
yeah, that's the way it is. So whether or not you agreed, you'd have to follow it. But I'm glad you're going to follow it. All right, is that it, Jenny? Anything else we need to do if we're gonna continue the hearing? Do I have to take a motion to continue it?
I would
Can I-
do that.
Can I ask
Yes.
for another?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, honestly, I don't know who the hell's telling the truth. It's, right? But if a property owner invites somebody onto their property, right, whether to do work or whatnot, right? And you have beware of dog signs, like, what is the rule there? Aren't you responsible for people who come to your property? I mean, it seems like if you invite somebody on, regardless of a sign, I'm not asking you, I'm asking our council, thank you.
Well, so, I mean, I think for you, for your purposes, what you're really asking is, are there grounds for finding a dog to be a dangerous dog? Just, based on somebody entering the property without permission? There's multiple, there are multiple issues that can come out of this. There are lawsuits and there's
Yeah, no,
standards, which we're not really getting into right now. But what we're getting into is under the statute, which actually has very clear definitions of nuisance dog and dangerous dog, that the dog owner cited to. So a nuisance dog, just quickly, is a dog that by excessive barking or other disturbance is a source of annoyance to a sick person residing in the vicinity, or by excessive barking causing damage or other interference, a reasonable person would find such behavior disruptive to one's quiet and peaceful enjoyment, or has threatened or attacked livestock, a domestic animal, or a person, but such threat or attack was not grossly disproportionate reaction under all the circumstances. So for the nuisance dog standard, I think what you're asking me, what you would need to determine is if a person entering somebody's property and then being bit by a dog was a grossly disproportionate reaction under all the circumstances. Now, the dangerous dog standard is a dangerous dog is a dog that either without justification attacks a person or a domestic animal causing physical injury or death, or behaves in a manner that a reasonable person would believe poses an unjustified imminent threat of physical injury or death to a person or to a domestic or owned animal. But you cannot be deemed dangerous solely based on growling or barking, or solely barking and growling, based on the breed of the dog. If the dog was reacting to another animal or a person and the dog's reaction was not grossly disproportionate to any of the following circumstances. 1, the dog was protecting or defending itself, its offspring, another domestic animal or a person from attack or assault. 2, the person who was attacked or threatened by the dog was committing a crime upon the person or the property or owner of the keeper of the dog. 3, the person attacked or threatened by the dog was engaged in teasing, tormenting, battering, assaulting, injuring, or otherwise provoking the dog. Or 4, at the time of the attack or threat, the person or animal that was attacked or threatened by the dog had breached an enclosure or structure in which the dog was kept and apart from the public. So these are the exceptions that the owner was referencing. And again, there's a reasonableness standard in here. And I think, if you're going to continue the hearing, one thing that would be a good idea is for each of you to read the statute, and which I've just read, and because it's a lot to think about and digest as you're trying to decide, what under each circumstance, what was reasonable, what do you think actually occurred at that time? Was the dog's reaction reasonably justified or not? So the answer to your question is, it depends.
Yeah,
Yeah,
typical answer from town council.
right. Okay,
And
so
unfortunately, you make that decision.
So could I have a motion to continue the hearing till our next select board meeting?
Yeah, October 12th. Yep.
I move to continue the hearing till. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes unanimously, so we'll continue this at our next select board meeting in October, and you'll receive a notice about the hearing.
Come back.
2 weeks.
You're certainly welcome to come back to the next select board meeting. You'll get notified the same way you did for this one.
No, we'll be
No,
deliberating.
we'll be deliberating
The hearing's gonna be
based on the
open, right?
testimony we heard today,
I would take a look.
and making a decision.
What would the decision be?
It's whatever we decide, deliberate and decide.
Well,
which we
we'll
will
be
make
deciding.
publicly, based on the statute.
All right. I was just curious, thank you.
Okay,
We gotta do some
let's
schedule.
discuss a little bit here, yeah,
mechanics
what
here.
we've got here left, so we.
You got the poor school board's
committee,
been
which
waiting. so
You
we
guys
really
have been
should-
waiting really patiently,
Yeah.
and Sue Busk is also,
And we know that you guys are all going to now, next year, you're all gonna come and
The cemetery.
join us, right, on the
9 o'clock, it's an
select
hour
board.
later.
PA report we have to do liaison.
Boy.
Well, I wonder if we
Cable,
should.
can we push cable?
Well, it's
just
9
did,
o'clock is
yeah.
when she was supposed to present. So school committee, I really apologize for doing this, but we could
She's-
have you go ahead and do the joint part now and ask Sue Busk to wait and come back.
She's out
Madam
west.
Chair,
She's out west, okay.
Madam Chair, I just corresponded with Sue. We're gonna reschedule her.
Okay,
So
all
we'll have
right,
more time with the school board.
Good.
all right.
Yeah.
So are you guys okay staying now?
Right.
I know you probably had planned
Bring
lots of
some
other
chairs
things.
up.
Jean, thank you very much for,
Bye.
thank you, and Jenny, thank you very much.
Yep, signing off.
Very thankless
We're
job.
gonna
and thank
table
you.
cemeteries.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll do the discussion with the school department, and then we'll table the
Then we'll just wrap up.
Sue
TA's
Busk, and we'll
report.
table the cemetery, and then we'll still do the town administrator's report
and get out.
and the minutes.
There's Alan
Okay.
snickering at us.
Oh, all right, Alan, we see you. Okay, hi, Jack, nice to have you here. Hi, Carrie.
Gosh.
Thanks for joining us and for patiently waiting.
You're welcome.
I'm sure it never happens.
sure
in a
you
school
found it
committee
very
meeting that
entertaining.
You get off the timetable. All right, so, yeah, let's reorient ourselves here, members, and,
Okay. Let me frame it up.
yes, that'd be
So
great.
Jack and I corresponded about, well, I should say is preamble is, by the way, I see Amanda, Eva, and is Sarah here as well?
Hi.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey,
Jim
thank
O'Shea
you
is
very
on.
much,
Hello.
all three of
And
you.
Jim O'Shea as well.
Oh, and Jim. Hi, Jim. Okay. So thanks for attending. I'm sorry this went a lot longer than we expected. However, we've moved stuff away for you guys. One of our goals as a committee is to have more frequent reach outs to the other committees, especially the big committee, school being one of those. One now in the beginning of the sort of school budget year, and then one probably later in the springtime after we think about what's happened and sort of plan for the next year. So very happy to have you. Jack and I have corresponded, and I think you guys met also as a committee and talked about what you might want to talk about. So the kind of list, and we'll see how far in the list we get, but budget at a very high level, because we know your budget's not ready yet, but just talk about the budgetary issues in the town is one. Your goals, we've shared our goals. We'd like to hear your goals. I think you had a goal setting session, so we're interested in your goals. MFC, we've talked about notionally behaving as if we're sort of one MFC, even though technically it's still kind of separate. And how that would be in kind of a trial year this year to see how that works. Technology, also we share some resources and how that works. The Highland Building was one you brought up, and that's everybody's favorite topic, so. Sure we'll have- And then, master planning, again, I don't know how far down this list we'll get. Master planning, there's a big hearing tomorrow, so I'm not sure how much more we can add, but let's have a conversation. And finally, future enrollment revenue diversity, which certainly when I was on school committee, I was very, interested in seeing if there was a alternative. So those are the topics, and I guess we'll start with budget and
Do you want to frame it in terms of like topics or time in terms of, I mean, we could spend a
Mm.
lot of time tonight.
Well-
Is there a dotted line here that we should at least?
you know, I think, I would say from my view, the first 3, maybe 4 topics we should try to cover. Budget we should, because this is budget.
Budget
season.
is a job one, I'd say, because
Yeah.
that's the most.
Right,
you
so
know,
that's
the-
first. Goals is good, because we should
That's
share goals.
budget,
that shouldn't
yeah.
be long. And then sharing resources, which is part of all of this,
Yeah,
MFC and technology. If we get that far, I think we're doing well, and then
Yeah, I
we can
agree.
decide at that point. So that's my.
I have one suggestion. Do you think, we could hear from you all about your goals first, just as a frame? That before we then get into the budget discussion?
That's a good idea.
Happy- know.
Happy to do that.
Yeah.
These are a bit real time in the sense that we haven't had a chance to sit down with what we would call a final draft. We discussed them at the last meeting. I think what I can do here, because I am also in the Zoom, is I can share my screen and,
Great.
if that's helpful, we'll
Yeah.
pull it up.
That'd be nice to be able to see it.
But I do know that these are not the voted, approved, school committee goals. These are in final draft to be discussed and voted on at the last meeting. The way we've structured goals, at least in the last 2 years that I've been part of the school committee, we've kind of dropped them into 2 groups. One is the core objectives, there's table stakes. We have to do superintendent evaluations, we have to do policy, we have to do budget. And then there are reach goals that we have kind of categorized in a secondary budget.
Excuse me, Jack, is it possible to enlarge that?
You can't see that?
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
I can see it from all the way back
My
here.
binoculars.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do it.
yeah, that's because you're not wearing glasses and they're not all fogged up.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah.
Let's
I'm
try,
gonna
let's
say
try
it's an
that.
age thing, but okay.
It's my excuse and I'm sticking with it.
Happy to do it. So with the, with the support of the school committee behind me, I'll just walk through the core objectives quickly, not reading them, but just talking them thematically. The big thing around the budget, and this will kind of carry to the next conversation, which is something that Jim and I have started working on with Scott Triola, which is more standardization of budget presentation. So we met with Scott today and we're working towards a templated presentation of the school committee budget using some best practices from prior years, trying to bring some standardization so it doesn't look this way one year, this way the next. And I think is hopefully helpful for people to digest in a way where various people have asked for elements that I think have dropped. Last year is my only year through the process. It was a pandemic year. Everything was weird. We were doing this not in October, we were doing it in February. We had all types of prepays and ESSER funds and grant money and a lot of moving parts. It's kind of, plus we were coming off of a level bud, what's the right term?
Yeah, level budget.
Yeah, and so in that particular case, just with contractual arrangements we had in place, that were already driving much of the budget, everything we had was gonna look a little bit higher than normal. We're trying to bring some normalcy here. And sort of year to year, apples to apples to the best we can. And that's what we'll do largely around the budget. I don't think I need to touch on policy and superintendent evaluation. Those are fairly straightforward and really haven't gone through. We continue to deal with the COVID-19 response at the school. There are a number of things that are being directed at the state level, I guess even the federal level to some degree as to what berth we have to make decisions in, around, and under. And those continue to evolve. In fact, it was a mandate of sorts around just to simplify, I'll just call it mask usage through the end of September. That has now been extended through the end of October. So there's less latitude for us to make local decisions. It's really, these are statewide decisions that are being made. But I think we're very aware as both committee members and parents around this not being singular. This is multidimensional. We have effects around the kids' mental health, learning outcomes, educational experiences, all of which are being impacted right now. And I think, to not address that front and center is not realizing the kind of situation we're in, because these kids' lives are affected every day. The next point is why we're here. I mean, this is something that I think is a townwide initiative. I put it in here as a must-do kind of table stakes for this year because the wheels are already in motion. And as David said, we've had some meetings already. We plan to have another meeting in the spring, and this involves even things such as the Municipal Facilities Committee, the Technology Committee. It's just less siloed, more cross collaborational work. And that's something that is just rolling with the town, hopefully. This is a collective bargaining year. So on top of everything else, we need to get this done. This again is table stakes. We can't not do it. This is not optional. We have, we will be starting conversations on that front very soon. And our goal is to establish a timetable. I don't know what again, this is draft. I don't think we'll probably meet March. It'll probably be more like April. But our goal is not to obviously run this too late. We want to line up with the budget process so we understand what the implications of this agreement are with regards to the budget. So, but think about it in the March, April timeframe. We'd like to wrap this up, not run it all the way to the end of the fiscal year, which is not desirable for anybody.
Just so you know, we're also starting our police negotiations and we have a
Okay.
similar timetable.
All right. Finally, again, it's in the top section here because we think we have a fairly young committee. We need to, I think, do a bit of a job to get more educational awareness around what our responsibilities are. So we've called in MASC to do some educational training. We could probably do more. We have a number of committee members that'll be attending the annual convention coming up. And we're going to keep looking for other opportunities to elevate our knowledge and awareness. There's lots of things we don't know.
Yeah, that's great. I don't think there's enough of that in town boards, you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
we
it's
need to
really
do
great
it
to
too.
hear.
It really energizes you.
Yeah.
I was on the school committee a gazillion years ago, but I loved all those things because you come back and you have such great ideas and then you feel like, you're centered and you know so much more about how to maybe achieve some of those goals. So,
Yeah, I mean, we have, 350 plus towns in the state all doing things and best practices that you can pull from. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
exactly.
So I envision a lot will come from that. And then we have a reach bucket, and I would say that already at 10 objectives for the year, this list seems, this is too much. But I didn't know how to distill it any further, but prior to our next meeting as a group. So this is what we have. Community outreach is something that we have had conversation about for the last 2 years since I started, partly because it's I think, call it something that I feel strongly about. It's something I talked about when I ran for school committee, because I was seeing sort of more and more of a disconnect between those that had kids in the CPS school system and those that did not. A lot of the cost of educating kids today and the complexity of educating kids today is far different than it was 20, 30 years ago. And there are no shortage of, I think, challenges around it that even I, and I'm pretty close to it, I'm always sort of amazed at what we need to go through. And to, I think, not let the conversation happen at the town vote around budget, but to really have the conversation happen well in advance of that in terms of questions and understanding is the objective. So Jim and I are working on a fall conversation and a spring conversation, hopefully in person and over Zoom, reaching out to groups like Council on Aging, men's groups in town, League of Women Voters, any groups that generally have representation without too much linkage to the school that otherwise maybe wouldn't have the time to ask questions of school committee members and learn. And hopefully again, sort of akin to this idea of more cross communication across the whole town as outlined above. Special education continues to be a huge topic. Effectively, I don't know any district that's exempt from this is a major topic. Navigating it, being able to do it well, meeting the needs of today's students, which I think are only increasing. And we could spend a lot of time talking about why that's happening. But for the sake of the conversation today, it just is. And we have to address it. It's something people have lots of questions about. And we have a subcommittee that manages it on a sort of a more close touch process, but we as the school committee, know this is a top priority in the town. And then lastly, the visioning subcommittee work. So there has been a fair amount of work done leading right up into the pandemic around visioning. Unfortunately, I don't know that we made a lot of progress last year around visioning, largely because we spent so much time dealing with the pandemic. Although certainly balls were moved forward, it wasn't a top 1, 2, or 3 topic. I think we'd like to see more effort put in here, largely around the idea of building a plan that incorporates the elements of the visioning plan into a sequence 5-year vision. This year, we're gonna work on this topic, next year, we're gonna work on this topic, and sort of do some, call it capital planning for thought and knowledge and visioning. And because we probably trying to row on all 4 or 5 or 6 fronts at the same time will lead to no outcomes. So let's pick one rock a year and deal with it sequentially and decide what that order is this year and start to work at one of them. So hopefully that was helpful. Again, this is still in draft. This is needing to go through conversation. I hope I represented other committee members' feelings and thoughts here accurately, because I just tried to summarize notes off of that last one. We haven't had time to discuss what you're seeing here today.
Okay, good, thanks, yeah.
David, did you share our goals other than our goal, well, all of the goals other than our goal to just?
No, the whole document.
Oh, you did? Okay, good. I just want to be sure that this.
Right, and also, by the way, we haven't met with the region, but I shared it with Sarah.
Okay, great.
But I would say I really like the way you have structured, kind of the must-dos, like the annual must-dos, and then the other must-dos, and then, you're reaching, because we should always be reaching. Right? We've gone through that same process. I like your phrase, capital plan for visioning. So, I like the philosophy that you're expressing. So that's very much in line with the way we are trying.
We'd like that to come out in, obviously future meetings with other committees in town, and certainly at our town outreach events. They understand that we're balancing a lot of things. And we are trying to be methodical about it, and we understand that, education is a huge draw for people in this town. It's a major pillar where we don't have a lot of other things, but we have amazing open space and we have amazing education. And we try to take that stewardship pretty seriously, and we want others to feel that a lot of thought goes into this. It's not just accidental that Carlisle ends up the way it does at the end of the year.
And that rolls back into your community outreach, and I think, and I made the point, certainly I made the point to some of you guys, the pandemic has hurt that, because the kind of events like spaghetti supper and the cultural fairs and those things that would bring non-parents to the school, we haven't had them. The touch points about the school, we all, I think, intellectually, most citizens agree with you. Education is very important, but once their kids leave the system, they begin to lose touch with what really makes it right, and it's great it's work, but I think we all need to do that. We're saying the same thing about town government, we've got to, people say, yeah, well, town's well run, a lot of volunteers, and people come off, so we want to engage people, so they're part of that process, and we understand and they appreciate, so I think I support that certainly as well.
Good, let's move on.
So I'd probably move to the budget is sort of the next topic. I've already touched on some of it, so I don't know how deep you want to go again. We are working towards end of October, I think, presentation to FinCom. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. Please correct me if I am, Jim. But the process is underway under sort of normal timing conditions this year, trying to get it back on the rails. There are some big rocks for us, including the collective bargaining agreement that we will be the driver. As you know, most of what drives a budget is contractual. There ends up generally, and again, I'm speaking with 1 year of experience, but at the end, it generally ends up being a couple $100,000 that we're really talking about at the end of the year from the budget of our size, in terms of, can we do this? Could we do this? Or could we do it another way? So much of it is really driven by what's already in place under these contracts. So we'll take we'll go through that process over this year. David Jim, is there anything else on the budget that I'm omitting or that we could share today? I know we're really just getting going here, so I know there's not a lot of meat.
No, you're pretty on point, Jack. I think just the timeline, we're hoping to have an initial presentation for the school committee on the 13th. And I think meeting with Scott today, we are going to meet with the FinCom at the end of October. But I think, as you said earlier, just the idea of having that template of the slides that they would like to see in the presentation is very helpful. And I think just that collaboration is going to move it forward smoothly.
Can I just ask, Jim, do you have yet a sort of a number or a range of students that you're thinking you're going to have for the next fiscal year?
So we had projections, right? But each year we have to adjust those projections. And this year, the numbers are higher than we had projected for this year. So we have to make some adjustments. So we really don't have a set number, but we're thinking our earlier projections had this year coming in around 600 and we're at about 615. So just looking at next year, we're probably going to be in a similar space. We have such a large K class came in this year. I mean, we have 75 students. We thought we would have probably, 65 with those students that didn't enroll last year, but the number really jumped up on us. So that changes our projections and then makes us think differently about next year and how that will come in. So we don't really have the new projections for this cycle. We will have some newer projections for the presentation on the 13th. But we're probably going to be looking in that same space, 609 to 614 or so.
Yeah.
Do you use like a 3-year rolling average or what?
Well, actually, we have multiple projections. We use NESDEC provides us with one of their projection, and then we developed our own formula based on somewhat like that, a rolling average of the years. So we look at, but we use both of those, and then we look at the past. What we usually see is a slight increase in each class size over the course of the 8-year span through the district. So we factor that into it too. But as I said, this year's projection, we were short of what we actually have.
Yeah.
People know that, a lot of parents, like Jack was saying, parents of 5-year-olds made the decision to wait out.
Right, sure. I would have redshirted my kid, frankly. But I just from experience, I find that tea leaves are better than crystal balls. So just so you know, for those projections.
Yeah, it's probably all as close, right? They're all as valid as the next.
And Jim, what about the sort of current teaching model that you're using for the middle school? Do you expect that to continue? I'm just thinking about possible, regardless of whether the population of students changes, that you might change some of the configuration of teachers based on whether you're changing that model.
Yeah, well, we started that a couple of years back. And the challenge is, as we have these class sizes that come through like every other year of 80 or 75, like it really doesn't support changing that model at the middle school level so much, right? Because we're adjusting back. Like this year we went back to the dyad model. We had tried the triad model in 5th grade 2 years ago. And then last year we went to a modified dyad because of the pandemic and in school and remote classes. But then this year, with the 5th grade being as large as it is, we went back to the dyad because that makes the most sense for that size class coming through. So it's, again, we're in that space where it looks like that middle school model with the your 4 core subjects being what they are kind of make the most sense at this moment in time.
So are you anticipating, I mean, I know you can't really tell till you know the numbers of incoming students, but if your in the same range as this year in terms of the total number of students. Do you think you will be sticking with the same number of teachers and assistants? Or you already have an understanding that you're gonna need more or less?
So right, as we get into in-depth conversation, I'm really, so the principals and the director, they're working with the faculty and staff to identify their kind of overall needs, and we're gonna have our admin meeting on the budget is scheduled for next Tuesday afternoon. So really, like, that's the time where we're gonna be gathering up even those basic numbers. I think one of the things Jack spoke about, even when we met with Scott this afternoon, is we do have a fairly full contingent of faculty and staff from last year, right? What we put in the budget last year that is this year, FY22, right? We do have a full complement of teachers, so I'm not expecting to have like this large increase of demand for additional teachers at this point in time. I think we have a fairly full complement. One of the variables when you talk about aides, that is a variable that year to year, month to month, that can change, right? As some children need some additional supports and other children come off of those additional supports, that number fluctuates more than our regular faculty and staff. So and that's hard to predict. Those are one of those variables really hard to predict in September or next September, right? We're a year out trying to figure out what the exact needs of some children are going to be. So that's one of our greater challenges.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Sure.
Any other comments or questions about the budget?
Well, from the high level, so I mentioned it in my note to you, Jack, we have attention, we ourselves make a goal for the town as select board. High quality education, that ranks high, and so does fiscal restraint. Those things are, basically at odds all the time. So, well, 2 years ago, as you mentioned, was a flat budget. And in the last town meeting was a significant increase, and there was a whole pile of reasons that led to that. What was it, 7% or some number like that? So I know the Jim Dar and the FinCom certainly have signaled to us that that's not a sustainable path, right? So I think the challenge is, as you met, I guess personally, having been through it, I would sort of table the CTA piece. That's just off on its own thing. You just have to look at the budget like the way it organically grows anyway, because you kind of know this without giving away the story. You know the range of steps and colas, so you can make that assumption that that's fairly consistent. But as the sped, trying to balance all those things you're talking about and hold it to a number that, working with FinCom, that they can, bring in. That's really the hard part. And I would just say, having been in all three seats, right, the FinCom, the board, the school board, and the select board, you gotta figure out almost in advance with FinCom what the right limit is.
Yeah, I think.
And work the pieces inside that envelope.
I think, again, I have 1 year of experience, so like, I don't have, I can't speak contextually very broadly, but I think it came up in the conversation with Scott Triola today, is just looking at it a little bit less on a yearly basis, but looking on a 5-year basis, and what is the annual increase when you look at it over a 5-year period of time, where you have a 2, a 0, and at the end of the day, it still ends up in a range that makes more sense, because I think looking year to year, there are going to be years where we have to, funds drop out, like some of our budget is being propped up by external funding sources that may or may not be around. We have elements of prepay that are happening or not happening. We have elements of school class sizes coming in or out. We have elements of a pandemic. We have elements, but I think trying to put also a little bit of focus on what's it look like over a 5-year span of time, as opposed to what's
right. But okay, yes, you can do that. But like I don't know if you were here when Kim Kane was showing the bonds, but I guess you were. That's right. you know, 555-222. No, you can't do that, right? You can't say, oh, I'm giving you 5 now and you'll get it 2% later. You can do that and that's okay, but you're coming off a high budget increase and we're straining, so even if you, inside that context, you still have to look at, you can't like cherry pick, like, well, I'm gonna ignore last year's 7, I'm gonna start a fresh curve now. you know
I
what
think
I'm
we're
saying?
back looking in the last 5.
Yeah.
I mean, we're back,
Yeah.
adding in the
backwards
last 4, and then this is the 5th, adding
Okay, and
last
that's
4,
fine.
looking at the 5th, looking at it that way. I mean, I think
That's,
we're always struggling to show like what the real, it's very, I think it's not accurate entirely to say it was a 7% increase in the sense of,
no, because it was a lag, as I said, there were a lot of.
so I think we have to do a good job, whether it's individually with a committee or whether it's in our school committee presentation that gets reported to the town and the mosquito, or whether it's in a townwide presentation,
Yeah.
like we're planning on doing this fall and in the spring, of really communicating some of the, contextualizing this,
Right.
coloring it, giving reference points,
Yeah.
because nothing is as ever simple as one variable and one data point. And I think often those sound bites get propagated in a way that is just not constructive or productive for a deep enough understanding of what's going on. And I just want to try to do whatever we can to do our best job.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Anything else on the budget? So we'll have a meeting, in the middle of October, we'll have FinCom, and then I guess we can have some more conversation.
So the FinCom is part of the marathon session, right?
Yeah.
You'll be
So we
going, having
agreed-
your
I think
hearing
we're gonna
slot.
sit in
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
Yes.
yeah.
So we get on that meeting at the end of October.
Yep.
Okay. So
We-
on the
we're-
heels of that, if
We're
needed,
posting, Tim, we're posting that for,
Schedule?
Either October 25th or 27th.
yeah, both of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, we should be able to go, 3 of us if we have to,
So
or
we should
want
put
to.
Oh, I see, yes. you
Uh,
need to
so they
post
should
it
always
for
be
us to be able to
posted.
Do that,
Or
okay.
even-
that
And by
makes
the way,
sense.
if you want to do, you should do the same. if you-
In fact, and then, did we get that letter? We've gotten a copy of the letter, right? Of the-
Yes.
Yes,
this Guidance
Yes,
letter
yeah,
from
and I
FinCom, yeah,
haven't,
and
yeah.
it shows the dates and the proposed hearing times.
right, I know. I haven't
Yeah.
opened it.
Yeah,
So we could-
so, what else?
we
was
could talk
on?
about MFC and technology,
Yeah, let's do
municipal facilities
Yeah.
committee. So
Yes.
I guess a couple of things, and Jim, I'm gonna need to lean on you a little bit here, but I'll try to do a decent job.
Sure.
Makes, the participating in municipal facilities committee, Carrie is graciously taking that one on for us, so hats off to her. It makes a lot of sense. I really like the capital planning process that we went through last year. Being a commercial real estate guy, it's very sort of near and dear. We do that in hotels and everything else, just like thinking about with our clients, like what's needed, and not looking at it on a year, but what's out over the next 10 years. So I love that the town is doing that, and rolling in the conversation with the school's needs as well. So we have participation, makes a ton of sense, and I think we're here to just support and be part of that. I think, Jim, and I'll let you speak and add more detail, but I think we have more kind of like questions and detail that's probably needed around how we combine technology resources. I think that one for us is Jim, I'll let him speak, and as a school committee, maybe we just don't know enough detail about how that would work. But obviously the school has a lot of technology sort of, needs to support kids. I don't really understand maybe all the collective efficiencies or benefits of drawing it under one hood, but that one is, I think, the one that we'd seek to pilot in some way or explore a little bit more before just pushing all in, like we're pushing all in on that municipal facilities committee.
Mhm.
Jim, do you want to add anything to that?
Sure, I guess just initially, just the idea that, yeah, the schools are looking to collaborate with the rest of the town and how we can do things more economically, more efficiently, and make these programs work. I think with regard to municipal facilities, it's really pretty evident that working together, we can possibly have a more effective, more efficient process, and we're taking those steps to move that forward. I think we had a meeting on October 4th. We're going to get together with the Municipal Facilities Committee and really dedicate that meeting towards exploring this and vetting this and coming up with a plan and a timeline to move that proposal forward. that's with regard to the big picture municipal facilities committee. Then there was, coming from the municipal facilities committee, there was a conversation around technology and the possibility of some type of unified technology department, which was kind of our first exposure to it. Was Scott Hefner came to me after reading an article in the Mosquito, and we were both taken aback by it. So we thought we needed to learn a little bit more because we want to just understand and be involved and be supportive. So we reached out, and Scott and I both started attending the technology committee for the town. I think Tim's on that committee. We were there last week and looking to just be more engaged with that. So just be more engaged, to have those conversations so that we can learn and see how a collaboration. I think we collaborate now pretty well, but we really haven't stressed that collaboration, but how that might be mutually beneficial to the schools and the town as we identify the needs and move forward. So that is something we're happy to explore. We're engaged in exploring that, but it's just a little more ambiguous than the municipal facilities committee, which is fairly concrete. We can understand and see really readily how that collaboration might allow us all to be more effective and efficient. Does that make, that's our position in those, and we're looking forward to just getting some of the groundwork done around municipal facilities. I think we've had some conversations, and there have been documents shared. People have done some research on how it's worked in other towns, but I'm just looking forward to the meeting on the 4th, where we can really just start having that more open dialogue of the reality of how this might look and how we can make it work for next year. Because I think we'd like to start piloting it next year if we could.
So the question was, David, the meeting on the 4th is the Municipal Facilities Committee and the school and Tim would get together and talk about, is this a good idea? If it is, what are the first steps? What do we need to do? What are the, yeah. And I just want to say about the IT, when the Municipal Facilities was talking about it and what got reported kind of, I wouldn't say it was out of context, but it was, and I think it was Steve Hinton was saying, gee, maybe when we're talking about, this, there's all that infrastructure, all that fiber optic cable, the fact that the town servers are actually at the school, and that we're all going to need a new phone system. And wouldn't it be nice if, instead of, again, doing it in silos and you do one silo, phones, we do another one, wouldn't it be nice if we did that IT together? And that's how that IT got kind of rolled in a little bit into the municipal facilities as a facility in certain respects. That.
But even before that, for years, I mean, Scott's been helping town.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah,
been a
this
history of
just would codify it and kind of, regularize it and, that's all. So I just wanted to kind of give you that background.
So I want to circle back to MFC. So my understanding is that the sort of capital planning process has been done already, has been done together, right? The needs of
Yes.
the school and the needs of the town.
Yeah, both of
But
us
they
need
still
about
operate as
a million a
separate
year.
organizations.
Yeah, Dave, I'll just jump in. Yeah, so Rob and Steve Bastick had worked last year to get the 5-year capital plan, which is a 5-year long-term capital plan for the unified town, which includes the town and the school buildings.
And by the way, Jim, I want to say, we really appreciate having had access to Rob, this past couple of years, because he certainly has helped the MFC on a number of occasions and certainly has helped with Steve and bringing him kind of up to speed, and look forward to continuing our working together. So.
That sounds great.
So, want to take on the Highland Building?
Sure.
All right.
Probably should stop after
Yeah,
that.
let's stop after
So
that.
we can
That's fine.
finish up our last
Yeah.
little bits.
Can we give it back to you?
Yeah, well, honestly, it actually came up in the last school committee meeting. As a question around like, well, would it make any sense to take it back and start to really use it for, I don't know that we have a knowledge of a particular use for it. But let me just step back from it for a second, because having now participated in the Highland Committee meetings, having conversations with some of the members over the last really just 4 weeks, and processing it a little bit more. But yet not knowing the 20+ year history of it just being this batted topic. If it's okay, I'm gonna give David credit for the suggestion, because I think it's one that's missing from the conversation. There's some planning that's gone into the idea of what could we use the building for. And that was a study that was approved. I think the select board approved it, and we went through and we have now some cost estimations for commercial space, residential type apartments, and demolition. Those are kind of like three costs that we know with regards to the Highland building at present time. What seems to be lacking, and again, David pointed this out to me a week or two ago, was there's really no vision for what would the world be like without the Highland building there. Like planning into what a landscape architect or a designer would do with that space for the benefit of the town or the school. Because I think the idea of demolition, it doesn't really, there's no vision around demolition. The vision is around like, what would the space be used for if?
People
Right, buildings are
visualize a hole
gone.
in the ground with a lot of concrete blocks, kind of strewn.
And I think to hopefully end up at the end, like there has to be a wide spectrum of options. The good news is that by all accounts, from the people that looked at the building, the work that was done, the 400,000 that was spent is doing its job. The roof is in good shape. The exterior building envelope is in good shape. The interior is not diminishing.
I know the
Six-
interior is
six-
diminishing.
at a rapid pace had the work not been done.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
maybe
I
not
mean,
as rapidly.
yeah,
yes,
I mean,
okay,
It's
but-
not falling apart.
It's not falling apart in a way.
While we did it, it's not falling.
The work is,
Yeah.
the work that was done does have some value. I think, I struggle with kind of understanding urgency in a timeline. This could literally be battered around for another 20 years, it sure seems like, in terms of not having an outcome. I think we have tried with the school committee to understand a rubric of sorts of the way we would look at the building. Things that would be under our purview and things that would not. I don't know that cost is necessarily a purview of the school committee so much as it is safety, operational issues with the school, ongoing complexity of managing it in terms of somebody participating in some type of an oversight board or whatever it would be. But we're trying to understand what the evaluation criteria would be before we look at things. I can share that I think in speaking for all committee members, there's the most questions around it being used as an apartment type building. That one is really tough for, I think, the school and committee members to wrap their head around, because there's just so much detail around the way in which who would be in and what would be the criteria and what the violation board would look like, what would the oversight, because I think those are all questions. And then there's the operational question outside the building where there's not a lot of parking. And how many units, all these types of details, I think, come up. There's, I think, one other thing I was thinking about with the Highland building. I can't think of it right now. So those are just some things that we've worked through the group. We've got sort of the rubric concerns around departments that we've asked for more detail before I think we can offer. What we certainly don't want anybody to do is spend a whole lot of time and effort going down a path that is ultimately not really going to garner the support of the town financially or effectively be feasible from a school perspective. And that's, I think, one of the challenges we're the position in right now.
So we authorized, we gave them 10 grand or 6 grand or something.
Yeah, for the,
And they or
Right,
somebody
so-
wanted to make sure the school committee agreed, which I think you did take a vote to agree.
Did not.
no,
No,
No.
no.
Okay, and is a school committee member is there a school committee rep on Highland in HBC?
I am acting as the school committee rep. We have not ratified me as such in a meeting. I don't believe we've had that vote yet.
Yeah,
But
Christine was on it.
Christine
Christine was on it.
And Melissa's on it, right?
Yeah, Melissa McMurray.
So you have people who understand
Yeah.
school stuff. All right.
And-
What is their timeline?
what is the timeline?
Well, we gave them some PIN money and they're gonna do something.
Yeah, they're supposed to come back with a report.
Like when? Springtime meeting or?
No,
No,
I think
it's
before
the
then.
next
Before
meeting.
then,
Yeah.
before, yeah.
John Valentine is heading up that group. and
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the report is in, the cost estimates are known.
Yeah.
gonna be
They've
coming
given a
soon.
presentation, so I would.
We'll lay out some options.
Yeah, so
Is
I-
there, to your point, is there an open space option in that ballot?
There
Well-
wasn't one that's been
No.
laid out. There wasn't one. There's really just sort of three.
Yeah, and-
Demo for X, apartments for Y, commercial space for Z.
And there is a cost, I just want to, sorry, there is a cost for just leaving it as it is, because, every time the fire alarm goes off, it costs us $400 for the guys to come and turn it off. There's a lot of, humidity in there. It was being used, for storage. They took the stuff out because it was growing green fur on it. And then there was water damage because the dehumidifier overflowed, so it is not a cost-free thing to do nothing.
But virtually. So, but the demo to do X is just that demo and we'll
Just
figure it out
demo and
later.
that's
That's the only.
That's what I understand it, just leave it,
Right.
I would assume maybe
The
pavement.
strewn cinder
Yeah.
blocks that Kate's talking about.
The whole.
The moonscape,
Yeah,
I think the conversation's always just on a parking lot. You turn it into a parking lot.
yeah, well,
That's pretty unclear.
I don't think so.
Well, no, but that's what that's what,
Not a
I don't know if this
pickleball
most
court.
recent quote, but it was always tear it down and pave it, right? And then- that's what-
I like that. Okay, so are you in a position as a member of that committee that you can influence them to include that? An
Sort of
alternative that's better
envision,
than
like-
X?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that would be important for us.
I've brought it up. I think it'd be helpful if they heard that from another committee, perhaps
Maybe.
this
Yeah.
committee.
Do we have a
Okay.
rep on HB?
No, we don't. I'm
Yeah,
not.
I'm on a high one.
You're
They-
on it?
Highland?
Yeah, they
Oh.
moved it to Thursday though, so I haven't been able to make the last two. It used to always be Mondays,
Oh,
so.
oh, sorry. I
So I
thought-
missed
Maybe
the
you
last
could
two.
get them to think.
Yeah,
about it.
Luke, would you, are up for communicating with John about
Yeah.
taking a look at that
Yeah, sure.
question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do they have any money left after the Chachi?
I don't know, like I said, I
Yeah.
missed the last two meetings.
Might just
They moved
take
to
creative
Thursday.
thought.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be incredible. I mean, because you gotta obviously fill the
I mean,
whole
What
land,
what
right?
would be useful, I think, in that dialogue, since it's your property, is what would the school want, right? I mean, you almost don't need the HBC to do it. You guys could among yourselves say, all right, when my kids were littler than your kids, there was a school building right there, right? There was the old, whatever it was called, I think,
No,
right? So, not at Highland, of course, but, next to
You're
it.
talking about the kindergarten, first
Yeah,
grade.
yeah.
Oh, that octagonal thing?
The octagonal thing, and that
Yeah.
went away, and now we can't even imagine what it's like, but so,
Right,
would you have instead of but in addition to the paved playground, the not paved, I know you got the castle, but I mean, I would be interested in what the school thinks of the how the school would use the open space to just enhance its, you don't have a lot of unpaved outdoor recreational space, as an example. I mean, I'm sure you can think of
Close.
other, right?
We would
Yeah,
love,
you go,
we
you
would
trundle
love
down
a
the hill.
field.
So I don't know, I'm just saying. Jungle gym, who knows, discovery space, I don't know, but it would be great if you guys spent a little time and folded that back to HBC. So that when we consider the range, demo to X has an X,
Yeah.
that's my advice.
Yeah.
And I will have to credit, I think, I would say it's kind of along the lines of what Eric told us the other day.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great building, everybody loves the building, but at the end of the day, it's sticks and bricks, right? That happens to be land in one of the most, central pieces of land in the town. And if you just get past, it is a great building, but if we cannot economically find a there for that structure, we still have the land. And we ought to,
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We can take some ownership of that. Jim, we'll talk more, maybe add it also to the next, school committee agenda.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
it connects with the idea that we also have a committee working on the castle and looking at some green space in that area.
Yeah.
So there might be an intersection there too.
Yeah, I think it would really be helpful if we got direction from the school committee as to what their vision is.
A giant sandbox.
Yeah, no, too many cats. Not,
But sand
It's
is
not
so great for
hygienic.
kids. Yeah. All righty.
All right, well,
Well,
listen, guys, you were very
Yeah,
patient.
Yeah,
thanks
no,
for waiting so
really,
long and also
thank
really
you.
appreciate the
Thank you for
conversation
hosting
this
us.
evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll do
Hopefully
it
helpful,
again.
and we'll do it again in the spring.
Yeah,
We sure will.
definitely.
All right.
That sounds
Yeah.
great.
And is there gonna be a spaghetti supper?
There will be, it is moved to the spring. My dear wife is chairing it, so.
I was
Ah.
wondering why no
Okay.
kids have been knocking on my door.
No, but
Okay.
it is underway, and
Every
we need to, this is exactly the type of thing we need to keep finding a way, because there are things that are continuing to be canceled for these kids.
Yeah.
Every week, we're having to drop things for them, and it's painful to see, it's painful to watch, so I think we have to continue to be creative and find ways to work the problem. Do it a different way. If it needs to be outside under a tent, maybe it has to be outside under a tent.
Yeah.
But whatever it takes, just try to give these kids some experiences, so they don't just keep losing things entirely. That's the goal.
It's also modeling resilience
Yeah.
by doing that.
Good.
Thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thanks.
Thank
for
you.
on the Zoom.
Good night, everybody.
Amanda,
Thank you.
Eva, Sarah.
Thank you.
Jim,
Good
thank you,
night.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Good night.
all right, good night.
So we've got,
To the
several
library.
things, but I noticed that, Dale and Martha are on the call. And that's
Yeah.
probably because it's in the town administrator's
Yeah, so
report,
let's
or
jump to
job
skip up to
request.
that.
So, Luke, why don't we, if you're game, we'll postpone the
Yeah, yeah.
conversation about the Green Cemetery. And, let's go to the town administrator's report.
Yep.
Tim, I'll turn that
Barney
over.
getting all caught up in one.
Yeah, so what,
stroke
do you
of
want
the
to jump right down to number 2, the library's request?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Martha
Sure.
and Dale are on the call.
Yeah,
Sure.
I have a question about that.
You have Martha's memo and
pen. Yep, thank you, bye-bye, good night.
supporting documentation for the request. Martha, do you kind of want to
Okay.
highlight what it is you're requesting?
Sure, yeah. So our head of circulation, Dina Scaparata, has just retired. And as we were going to post the position, looked at the job description, saw that it's kind of a very generic description for a senior library assistant, and it just doesn't reflect what the job actually is, or both what the job is as she was doing it and what we think it should be. Like looking at other libraries,
Right.
it's really a supervisory position. Well, for us, it's the leader of the department, but not with any supervisory authority, which is kind of an odd way of putting it. So we wanted to, rewrite that job description, talk to the personnel board about updating the job description and then reviewing the pay grade. And I'd say, we have found some good applicants. I think we'll find someone to hire with it as it currently is. I think that if it were, reviewed, we'd probably be able to find someone who would stay for longer, more experience. So if not for this time, then for the next time we hire, I'd like to really have the position reflect what it is.
So, Martha, tell us, what are the key changes that you would like to make? And then are you also suggesting that this would be at a higher grade in terms of what we would pay this position?
Yeah, so the key changes, I think, are, first of all, just making clear what the role is, because it's this generic description that includes things that people in other departments really do. It's like, job title shared across departments, but it doesn't make it clear in the description. Adding more of the supervisory role, giving more authority to set the procedures, enforce the policy, really use professional expertise. And I think it should be at a higher pay grade. Looking like Littleton and Concord both hired for the same position this year. For both of them, it was a full-time job paying over $60,000 a year. For us, it's a 4-day-a-week job paying $35,000 a year. And, they're bigger. I don't necessarily think we should be, I think the 4 days a week actually works for us, but it's not really competitive to have that
And
big of a
so-
difference.
But would it be then, at, 4 days a week for us at that?
Sort of equivalent to
Yeah.
what they're paying in Lincoln or,
Mhm.
Yeah, this town you mentioned.
I think so. I mean, it would also be up to the personnel board to look at the pay grade and how it compares to other departments.
But if you sort of computed, you know, a full-time position in Lincoln and whatever that hourly is, and then looked at ours 4 days a week at that
Right.
same, what do you think the rough amount would be?
So the 65, I'm not sure if I'm wrong, but.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it'd be more
okay,
like,
Yeah, so 64 would be a 52,000 a year if it was
52, okay.
4 years.
right, yeah. Yeah, for 80% of that.
Okay.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And so right now, the process is you're taking the current, because you have somebody you'd like to fill the position,
Right.
that's going to the personnel board as is, with no change in the salary. And then you're saying for the next time you fill it, you want to change the job
Mhm.
description? Or if I got that wrong?
I think we'd like to change it, we'd like to change it as soon as possible, but we are working to fill it with the current job description and pay grade.
Okay. And
So
I
you're
guess,
not looking for more money?
Yeah, can you fit it in your current budget?
It would depend what pay grade it was set at,
yeah,
but I think so.
Yeah, I think Martha's suggesting filling the position and then going to the personnel board, and if it's regraded, then retroactively regrade the
But you
position.
can't fill it unless you can assure them a salary. Right? I mean,
Right,
fill
so
it
I'm
with
not
incumbents,
promising.
the incumbents is
yeah.
hired, right?
No,
What makes you suggesting that they can fill it?
Yeah, so they can fill it. Yeah, okay.
If the changes reflect the higher grade, she'd like to see that.
well, I guess my question is, if you have candidates that you're gonna fill the old position with, will they be qualified to fill the new job description?
right.
Mhm.
Or do you have to then get rid of them and start over again?
No, I think with the new job description, we'd still, be able to work with, if we hire someone, we'll hire someone that we think could do the job with either job description.
Promote into that.
But you can
Promote them
hire
into
them
it,
at
right?
money allowed now to attract them. I mean, I thought you said it's difficult. I thought I interpreted maybe what you said. It's difficult at the part-time job to get somebody that's qualified.
So we're in the interview process right now. And I think we will be able to find someone, but the people we're talking to are people who have less experience than I think would be ideal, but I think they're bright enough that we can find someone who can do it. But I also think that this is, speculative, but with it as it is, I think we're likely to hire someone who does it for a couple of years, gets a master's degree and moves on to another library for a full-time job. And so if we were,
And then that's what you mean, if you had it graded and described properly, that then when that happens,
we'd be
have
able to,
somebody, you post based on that new job description and get people that were already more skilled.
right. Or we're able to, promote the person into the,
Yeah, okay,
to retain the person by promoting them.
yeah. And so what are you looking for from us tonight?
It's just, you're okay to, move ahead with this and talk to the personnel board and FinCom.
And then after you do those conversations, it'll come back to us. Is that right,
First it
Tim?
goes to personnel board, then it comes back to us, and then we
Right,
send it to.
yeah, so it comes back
FinCom.
to us and we'll know at that point what the
Right.
cost would
They'll
be.
grade it.
Right,
And, okay,
And that would be for the next budget coming up, the 20.
and that's for,
Yeah.
is that for FY '23 you're thinking, Martha, or would that would be, that's for FY '23, so the person would continue, that you hire now would continue at the current salary
Mhm.
through the end of this fiscal year. And then if it were approved for the next fiscal year, that person would get a raise.
That's what I was thinking, or if at the point it was approved, we looked at our budget and thought that we could absorb it into this year's budget, then seeing
Okay.
if we could do it then. Mhm.
Okay,
But yeah, I'm not asking for more money for this fiscal year.
okay, all right, thank
Not for
you,
the one we're in.
right.
Right. Mhm.
This is
So
our
I'm
fiscal
looking
year.
at, it was a little hard because the pay and the staff. were
yeah,
on
I
different
had a hard
pages.
time with that too.
But I just wrote it down here. I think so. So what I'm seeing is we're paying if I got it right, 35 to 40 around for a part-time position, staff of 9, and the comparable towns that have small libraries, like Oxford, Dover, Harvard, and Manchester, they have single-digit staffs, and that position is in the 50 to 60 range, right? Is that kind of your thinking, Martha, as well?
Yeah, that's what I was seeing.
So it's about 10 to 15K, probably it's probably a 15K. Just
Increase.
kind of frame it in our minds, right? That's-
Yeah, like from
helpful.
35 to,
Yeah.
Dale was saying
50
maybe
or
around
40 to
52.
55.
Yeah.
something. Okay, because the big systems pay more, but it's a bigger system.
Right, different scale.
Okay, all right.
But then 80% of it.
Hmm?
80% of it.
Right, because
It
it's a
wouldn't be
4-day a
4
week.
days.
Oh, if it stays at 4 days, I
Yeah.
thought you were thinking of a full-time.
I think we were thinking staying at 4 days for now, but, you know, potentially as there's turnover in the future,
80%.
shifting hours around.
It's not that
So we're-
much.
it's not big money.
No, the other thing is, have we ever promoted in town? Right, my only concern is that,
Yeah,
no, I just, honestly, have we? I can't think of any position where we promoted.
Mhm.
But you don't necessarily wanna groom somebody if it's all of a sudden gotta go out again. You know, I mean, I'm all for promotions, right? If somebody can show you that they deserve a promotion, I'm just wondering. Have we ever
Yeah.
promoted anyone?
It did
I mean,
actually
it's
happen
not
at the
a normal-
library for
Oh,
me
yeah,
a
the
few
library.
years ago.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Not actually when I became the director, that one was posted, but there was,
Yeah.
someone retired and the job descriptions were shuffled around because we had previously had an assistant director who was also the children's librarian, and we switched that to have that as 2 separate positions, and then it was, posted internally for me to apply for. And
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm all for promotions. I don't wanna have somebody come in and then all of a sudden have to have it get posted, again, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's,
If you're truly gonna groom somebody to be promoted and, you think they're competent and qualified, then, I'm supportive of that. I just didn't know the process if we actually have to. But if you can do it internally, that would.
yeah, we're able to do an internal posting. So
be good.
All right, so are we all comfortable then, having them take this to the personnel board? Yeah. All right, good.
Sounds good to me. Thank you.
All
for
right.
Hey,
saying
thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Marty.
you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Have a good night.
Thanks, bye.
Okay,
Okay, moving on.
yeah,
There's a letter in the packet from the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. They'd like a Carlisle representative to the Planning Council. It's been vacant for some time. The planning board is recommending Peter Yell for the Magic representative, but this is for the overall council.
yeah.
I'm also on Magic. Who was the
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
MAPC?
Who used to do it for us?
To do it?
I don't recall. They said it had been vacant for a bit. It's a 3-year
What do these
term.
guys do?
We select an elected or
No,
appointed
there's
official
meetings.
or resident.
What are they doing in such meetings?
Well, the Metropolitan Area Planning Council does a lot. They're actually going to be writing our HPP, our Housing Protection Plan. They just
They're the ones who got the
completed
grant.
our MVP.
Right.
They're very,
Do we
they're
pay
very
for that, or
active,
they-
Yeah, we pay an assessment.
legislatively. I'm happy to do it. I do Magic, which is the subgroup of MAPC.
Peter said he would do it?
No, he's on the other one, on Magic.
He's on Magic.
So they're recommending Peter. Peter's not recommending Peter. That's what you're saying?
No, well,
No, 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 they're
he'd be
two
on the
separate
other,
things.
there's a subgroup, a sub-regional group, which is Magic.
Okay.
Yeah.
And MAPC is kind of the umbrella planning organization that has one representative from, I think there's 101 cities and towns that are
Did
part
I
of it.
misunderstand?
So
Or
Pete is
Magic.
doing Magic,
So
but
you're,
we looking for
you're
somebody
already recommending him. That's something.
Yeah.
separate.
separate, yeah.
You kind of tricked me.
Well,
Well,
so
Peter,
Kate,
we got more people, boom.
Kate, if you're up for doing it, I'm fine with that. Anybody else vying for this?
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it too. Just, should we ask Nathan? I mean, I don't want to necessarily exclude him just because he's not here. But, no, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
I mean.
Yeah,
It's been
Sure,
vacant for
let's-
how many years? It can
right,
wait another year.
right, yeah.
I'm just,
That's fine.
just to give him the
Do we
opportunity.
have to
Sure.
do Peter Yell, or that's, the.
No, that, we, that's-
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
so why don't we, you want to sound out Nathan, Luke, when he gets back?
Yeah.
And,
I text
then
him
we
now,
can
but he's
just-
asleep, I'm sure.
and we can do this, vote as they're describing it. We'll do that at our next meeting,
Okay.
all right?
I mean,
Okay,
I'm assuming he'll say no, I just,
yeah, that's
because he's not here.
Not a-
a good idea.
Yeah, no, I feel
Um,
excluded,
And then, let's see, what else did you have on your
Frizzle.
report here? Yeah, Priscilla.
Yeah, I'm recommending that the town hire a Kerr Street resident, Priscilla Dumpka, as a part-time employee for the end of December to finish up the work on the CARES program, the Chamber Rizzo.
Has she agreed to that?
event. She's very, willing to consider it. I can't call her for a month, so that's the agreement we have. I have to leave her alone.
Did you have a nice week of vacation, Chris?
Yeah.
When you got to sleep? I kept thinking,
You don't need any,
no, she doesn't.
you know,
That's-
He's
anything
letting us
from us.
know.
Just letting you know, yeah,
Yeah.
she's willing, but she wants to take a break, and that's,
Right.
And you have,
Cool.
and you have money in your budget to
Yep,
do that?
we
Yeah.
do,
Okay.
we do. All right, then, moving on.
$5,000 an hour.
Uh,
I don't know where that money came from.
No, I told her, she just saved us $700,000. She can get a piece of that.
Yeah,
In October is Concord Carlisle Community Chess Month, and they've asked again for the usual resolution, the board votes, which I think is attached to.
yeah,
Second.
let's see, who would like to make that motion?
oh, it's attached. I have to
Yeah, you
scroll
gotta go
down, hang
through
on.
The,
It looks a lot like last year's, but. dates
here it
have
is.
changed.
I'm still going
Yeah,
to,
it's the proclamation.
Yeah, right,
Right.
right.
I move that,
You Just say as written, right?
yes, that we, declare, which day was it?
It's,
The whole month, I think,
it's
isn't
the,
it?
The month of,
it begins
October.
October 1st, 2021.
the
we
month
just-
of October to be Concord Carlisle Community Chess Month,
There you go.
with the proclamation as presented in the packet.
All right, any conversation, any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously, all righty, and.
Then we have the draft agenda for the 12th, which we'll be going
Yeah,
over.
let's look at that very
Oh.
quickly
We'll be
here.
slotting a dog hearing in there in the
Oh, yeah.
DVD slot there.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We'll be meeting tomorrow afternoon to
Yeah.
work on
Yeah.
that.
Did we pick a time? Cause I cannot. do
Yeah,
the
it's 2:00.
I can't do two. I gave you my window.
You
right?
said 3 to 5.
3 to 5.
Oh, you did, I didn't see
Already
that,
said
sure,
two.
I
can
can do
3
three.
is fine,
3?
whatever.
Yeah, let's do 3. But, let's look at that and see if Kate or Luke, you have anything you want
Okay,
to.
LAPC, what's the TBD?
Be
That's a,
determined.
that's
I know
a
what that
dangerous,
means.
dangerous dog hearing.
Hey, I think that's when the dangerous
Yeah.
dog hearing
Yeah, that one
happens.
That's
too,
the
and it's-
continuation of hearing.
Yeah, it's a
And-
continuation of this one.
Yeah,
No, the other one's later.
yeah,
The
there's
other
another
one
one
is the
later.
following meeting,
And,
yeah, the end of October, we'll be all prepared. for that
We're
one.
all, yeah, we'll be
Yeah,
at the
the-
dog.
Yeah, for the next one, I mean,
Yeah.
unless there's new information, I think we should just,
We just deliberate and
Deliberate,
make a
yeah.
decision,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, for our next.
The
The
dangerous.
the
the
continuation of this one.
continuation
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
no, no,
hearing.
we're not getting any more.
No more
information,
new
we're just-
testimony, right?
And it
we-
shouldn't be, I don't think it'll be a long deliberation.
But it's, how long do we need for the, cable TV? We need at least half an hour, right?
Oh, that's right, we had to put
The,
cable TV back in.
Cemeteries.
Yeah,
Right.
cemetery should be quick.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's just.
Yeah.
Well, and then we have this Eversource.
This is Eversource grant of location.
Service up at the road.
You know what, very often they don't come up, don't
Right.
come and we don't do anything,
So
so.
we've got the discussion with municipal facilities for half an hour, and we have the police and
Yeah, we
fire
have to drop
goals.
one of those.
I think we should, right, I think we should,
You know what, let's drop the municipal facilities,
I was gonna say, drop the goal.
Yeah.
drop the goals, okay, either one.
I'm
You know,
guessing
I know,
both police and fire would be happy to have another couple of weeks.
okay,
Which reminds me though, let's see, Luke, that's you with fire,
Yeah, and supposedly
Kate, that's you.
communication too.
that's you with communications.
I believe
as
on the
well, dispatch.
communication, yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you know whether, the fire chief has goals written down?
He does, yeah,
Okay.
so I mean, he had them at the beginning of the year. Yeah, it's just a matter of,
We should probably do goals.
yeah.
and the police have theirs too,
Yeah,
because he was already
I-
ready.
Yeah, I don't know.
2
if
weeks ago.
communications-
You don't need an hour, you don't need an hour for all that.
No.
No,
So we're saying we're gonna wait on municipal facilities?
That's my.
I thought it
well,
was-
the only reason I was suggesting to wait for them was because they, on the 4th, what's the date of this meeting? October 12th. The 12th, okay, yeah, well, on the 4th, they're gonna have that first meeting about the,
Yeah. So, okay,
the new committee, the new department, so it might give them a little extra time to
yeah,
do a little more work on that to have something to say, but
okay. So
I
let's,
don't know.
let's
We could
move the municipal facilities to the 26th, I guess is the next meeting. And then we'll do police and fire at this next meeting. Excuse me.
That's you.
Oh, I'm not even there.
We're not even here on the 12th and you're already.
I know, you're right.
Typical.
Okay, and so
Missed that
Luke,
dog
would
hearing.
be,
Oh,
Luke,
yeah.
it'd be good to have those
Yeah,
goals
good
in
enough,
advance,
yeah, to
obviously,
miss it.
so we put them in the packet.
Yeah.
And then the chief, you're gonna work with the police chief and get his goals.
He's already done.
Okay, but so we get him in though, and get him in the packet,
Ah, okay,
right?
yes,
It needs to go out the week before.
yeah, all right, I guess
Okay.
I'll call him up and tell him that he's got a
Okay.
reprieve.
Great, and then, was there anything else we said we needed to add here?
Not the hearing, the cable.
Okay, the TBD
Right,
is
Sue
the,
Busk,
and Busk.
Fit the,
so maybe if we do 15 minutes each for fire and 15 for police, we
Does
make
Tom
that a
have
half
those,
an
too?
hour.
I haven't checked into that. I don't even know who the person to talk to with communication is. I've never.
well, it's really
That's the,
jointly managed by the
Yeah,
two chiefs.
by the two chiefs, yeah, but I don't know if they have like a head. Oh,
Kirk
I'll check
Bishop's
into it.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
supervisor of communications.
an hour, then you pick
And then we, and so then we can give Sue the half an hour that the,
Can she do it in a half an hour?
that's what she had tonight.
I know, but. Do we have to have an executive session?
Yeah, and then we should still do the executive session, so that would, so, we put her in for the half an hour that,
And you've got a
Anyway.
15-minute slot.
yeah, we'll put that in there, and then, if there's anything else new, that's what we'd like to hear from Kate and Luke, because we can
Yeah.
fiddle with this tomorrow afternoon when we sit
Yeah.
down together.
Yeah, so if Dave's not gonna be, just an FYI, I might be a tad late, so I'd rather not do
Well.
an early executive session.
Oh,
Gotcha.
But I guess that'll probably be with cable anyway, right?
Yeah, that could be later, because she's left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just want to make sure Nathan is gonna be able to be
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I will be here, it's just, yeah.
Just a little late, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, baseball.
Oh, well, maybe we better wait for you though for the dog hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they already don't like me, so.
Okay,
Well, I'll definitely be here by, well, what is it, would you do 7:15? Yeah, I should definitely be here, well, now it's getting dark.
7:30, we could,
Yeah, I can't play baseball after 7. No, but I gotta come from Concord. Two Concord teams are playing at Banta Davis, the Carlisle teams are playing in Concord. Like, Really?
geez, yeah. Okey doke, and, should we just put off the cemetery fees till the following meeting, or try to fit that in here?
Yeah, no, honestly, grand scheme of things, just think about a number, I mean, I think this is a quick, easy
If
discussion.
you look at the data he's presented, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's put that, then on this, we'll put that into this agenda as
Yeah.
well.
yeah,
Okay,
all right.
great. And we don't have any minutes to approve, I don't believe, right? And the warrants are more just for information purposes, right? I'm sure you've looked at those
We
quite
studied
carefully.
them, we studied them. yeah.
Okay, and, just quickly on the liaison reports, I just, wanted to say that on the subject of the pickleball facility, that the select board is waiting on the, determination that the Recreation Commission makes. And only if they approve it, then it'll come to the select board for us to, hear it and deliberate on it. So we are waiting, yes, we are waiting for that, action by the Recreation Commission, and, if it does come to us, we will discuss it in open session. All righty, any other liaison reports? Okey doke, then I think we can adjourn this
Oh.
meeting. Well,
just one, tomorrow night is
Oh,
the
yeah,
master plan
plan.
outreach. I was saying,
community forum.
community
Thank
forum.
We're not.
Absolutely, we're hoping people will attend. You can come in person, or it's, also available via Zoom.
Recommend, which do you recommend?
I think in person will probably be
In
more,
the cap? or in the
Yes, it's
auditorium?
in the cafeteria at the school, and, the presentation, there'll be a presentation and then break up into discussion groups, and they're gonna happen both online and in person. So, yeah, it would be great. Anybody still listening, we would love to see you at the community forum tomorrow night. Thank you all, and may I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, yeah, she got in
We are
at 10:15.
adjourned.
Look at you, Barbara.
Thank you very much.
Look at you.
10:14.
I know, you beat yourself by a minute here.
Yeah, of course, you